After surviving a car crash so traumatic it felt like drowning in a nightmare, metal screaming, glass shattering, the world spinning into darkness, I opened my eyes to discover something impossible. I had become the 1008th generation heir of the Dragon King Palace. Trillions of dollars rested at my fingertips like pocket change, scattered across offshore accounts, numbered Swiss holdings, and black cards that made bankers weep with envy. 100,000 elite soldiers stood ready to move at a whisper from my lips, specially trained operatives stationed across 4 continents, each one willing to die for the Dragon King without a moment's hesitation. But here's the kicker. This brain-dead system lodged inside my skull still believed I was the same worthless pushover from my previous life. Day after day, it pinged with notifications demanding I play the lovesick fool, chasing after some leading lady, sending her flowers, writing her poetry, or getting tangled up with some fake rich pretty boy who couldn't fight his way out of a paper bag. Naturally, I wanted none of it. With my current power, the combined might of a global empire and supernatural strength, I could crush them all with my pinky finger. Why waste precious time on pointless drama when I had an entire underworld to command? After fully absorbing this body's memories, a process that took nearly an hour as I sat in stunned silence, I changed into a razor-sharp, tailored suit. Not just any suit, mind you. This was a custom piece hand-stitched by a master tailor in Milan, made from wool so fine it felt like liquid shadow against my skin. I adjusted the cuff links, platinum with tiny embedded sapphires, and ran a hand through my hair. The man staring back from the mirror wasn't the simpering fool who had inhabited this body before. He was someone new, someone dangerous. I descended the stairs slowly, each step deliberate, the leather soles of my shoes clicking against the marble like a countdown to something inevitable. The maids and butlers gaped at me like they'd seen a ghost, and honestly, I couldn't blame them. The old Max Sterling was essentially a glorified house husband who wouldn't know a tailored suit if it bit him. His wardrobe consisted of wrinkled t-shirts, faded jeans, and the kind of sneakers that had seen better decades. The servants had watched him shuffle around this mansion for years, head bowed, shoulders hunched, the very picture of defeated mediocrity. And now here I was, back straight, eyes sharp, exuding the kind of quiet authority that made people instinctively want to bow. According to the memories now swimming through my consciousness, my predecessor had been hopelessly devoted to Lily Yates for 3 agonizing years. 3 years of his life, wasted. He sent her money, showered her with resources, even went to culinary school and got a chef's license just to cook for her daily. Can you imagine? A man with the blood of dragons in his veins, the heir to a trillion-dollar empire, standing over a stove in a flour-dusted apron, carefully plating seared scallops for a woman who barely acknowledged his existence. All to earn the official title of boyfriend. A title she granted with the enthusiasm of someone signing a mediocre business contract. But then Lily's precious first love, her so-called white knight, returned from overseas. A man named Kyle Bates, who looked like he'd never lifted anything heavier than a teacup in his entire life. From that moment on, Lily grew colder. The texts stopped. The phone calls went unanswered. She constantly made excuses to be with him. He's new in town. He needs someone to show him around, she'd say. Or, I'm just helping him settle in. Don't be paranoid. When my past self finally confronted her, Lily hit him with the classic line. He's frail and weak. He needs someone to care for him. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Those 3 words had haunted my predecessor's final moments. The last memory my past self had of Lily was right after that bloody car accident. He had been driving home from buying her favorite dessert, a specific brand of mango pudding from a shop 45 minutes away, when a drunk driver ran a red light and T-boned his car at 60 miles per hour. The impact shattered his ribs, lacerated his liver, and left him bleeding internally as he was extracted from the twisted metal by paramedics. But even as the ambulance screamed toward the hospital, his first thought wasn't about his own survival. It was about her. He called her again and again, his blood-slicked fingers fumbling with the phone. She kept declining. Each rejection was a fresh wound, deeper than any the crash had inflicted. When he finally dragged himself into the emergency room, refusing a stretcher, refusing painkillers, refusing everything except the desperate need to see her, he found Lily tenderly spoon-feeding her precious white knight. Cal had caught a mild cold. A mild cold. The man was wrapped in a blanket, sipping warm broth, while Lily dabbed his forehead with a damp cloth and whispered soothing nonsense into his ear. My past self stood in the doorway, bleeding internally, and watched the woman he loved lavish affection on another man for a minor inconvenience. The memory stopped there. Darkness. Silence. And then me. I rummaged through my mind and found many locked fragments still buried. Entire years missing, crucial events erased, a past shrouded in deliberate secrecy. But if they wouldn't open, so be it. I had more pressing concerns than unraveling the mysteries of a dead man's psyche. I pulled myself together, walked into the kitchen, a gleaming expanse of stainless steel and imported marble that my predecessor had barely used except to cook for Lily, and effortlessly whipped up 4 gourmet dishes and a soup. My hands moved with practiced precision, knife cuts perfect, seasoning balanced, presentation worthy of a Michelin-starred restaurant. The system, it seemed, had gifted me culinary skills to match my other abilities. Ignoring the servants' bewildered stares, they had never seen Max cook with such confidence, such flair. I sat down at the massive dining table and inhaled the food like a starving wolf. The flavors exploded across my tongue. Silky mushroom soup with truffle oil, pan-seared foie gras on brioche, a delicate seafood bisque, crispy duck confit, and a lemon tart that made my eyes roll back in pleasure. For the first time since waking up in this bizarre new existence, I felt something resembling contentment. That's when the dining room doors swung open with a theatrical flourish. "Welcome, Miss Lily. Welcome, young Master Kyle." I looked up instinctively, chopsticks frozen halfway to my mouth. Lily Yates and her golden boy, Kyle Bates, stood before me like characters walking out of a bad romance novel. Thanks to my past self's financial backing, millions funneled into her startup, introductions to key investors, contracts secured through back channels. Lily had been a CEO for years now. Her aura had completely transformed from the girl next door she once was. She wore a tailored white blazer, designer heels that added 3 inches to her height, and the kind of subtle makeup that screamed, "I woke up like this," while actually requiring an hour and a professional artist. Mature, commanding, undeniably gorgeous. A true rare beauty. No wonder the old me fell so blindly hard. Looking at her now, I could almost understand the obsession. Almost. Max, break time equals 400 ms /. How are you holding up? Lily's voice carried a hint of guilt, probably remembering the crash, probably remembering the unanswered calls, probably remembering everything she had done to destroy the man who loved her. Kyle quickly stepped forward, playing the saint with practiced ease. His face was arranged in an expression of gentle concern, the kind that said, "I'm the victim here. Please feel sorry for me. Max, please don't blame Lily. It's all my fault. I've been physically weak since childhood, and I don't have any family in this city. That's why she came to take care of me. If anyone should be angry, it's you. I completely understand." Hearing this, I wasn't even angry. I was genuinely amused. A slow smile spread across my face as I chewed another bite of duck confit. In my past life, my original life, before this transmigration nonsense, I had always wondered just how pathetic a grown man could act. What kind of adult human being used "I'm so weak and helpless" as a manipulation tactic? Now I was staring at the textbook definition of a manipulative pick-me boy, and honestly, it was hilarious. Seeing that I couldn't be bothered to reply, that I just kept eating with the serene focus of a man who had better things to do than engage with melodrama. Lily's guilt evaporated like morning mist. Her eyes hardened. Her jaw tightened. The vulnerability she had shown for exactly 3 seconds vanished behind a wall of frost. She marched up to me, her designer heels clicking in angry staccato against the marble floor, and her voice turned ice cold. "Max, can you grow up for once? Just because I didn't visit you? I told you Kyle was in the hospital too. He has no one else, no family, no friends, no one to advocate for him. I had to look after him. Look at you. You're sitting here perfectly fine, eating a gourmet meal, breathing without assistance. What are you throwing a jealous fit for?" She slammed a gift box onto the coffee table so hard the lid flew off, revealing an ultra-luxurious fountain pen inside, black resin with gold accents, the kind of writing instrument that cost more than most people's cars. The box even had a master craftsman's signature embossed on the inner lid. Kyle's eyes lit up with barely concealed greed. He picked up the pen and pushed it toward me, purposely rolling up his sleeve to show off his matching luxury watch. The watch and the pen were from the same exclusive brand, one that required a personal invitation just to browse the catalog, but the price difference was night and day. The watch was easily 6 figures. The pen, while expensive, was a fraction of that. He was blatantly flaunting Lily's favoritism, rubbing my nose in the fact that she had spent more on his wristwear than on my entire gift. I kept my head down and continued eating. The duck confit was getting cold, and I refused to let these melodramatic idiots ruin a perfectly good meal. Kyle's confidence wavered. He had expected rage, screaming, accusations, maybe even tears. That was how these things usually went, according to his experience. The old Max would have thrown a tantrum, accused Lily of infidelity, and then groveled for forgiveness within the hour. But I just sat there, chewing contentedly, as if he were no more significant than a fly buzzing near the window. Growing anxious, Kyle leaned closer, trying to look serious and concerned. "Max, Lily is talking to you." I tried to put in a good word. I told her you were just stressed, that you didn't mean to ignore her. But if you keep throwing this tantrum, even I can't help you. You need to meet her halfway. Lily scoffed coldly, crossing her arms over her chest. "Leave him be, Kyle. I see right through this playing hard to get routine. He wants me to beg. He wants me to apologize for taking care of someone who actually needs me. Well, I'm not going to do it. Just let him sit there and stew in his own childishness." She turned to leave, her blazer swishing dramatically behind her. But Kyle hesitated at the threshold, his stomach audibly growling. "But Lily, break time equals 400 ms / I'm actually a bit hungry. The hospital food was terrible, and I haven't had a proper meal in days." Lily stopped. She glanced back at the table, at the 4 gourmet dishes and the soup, still steaming, still fragrant with herbs and spices. After days of eating bland, nutritionally optimized hospital food that tasted like cardboard, even she was sick of it. Her resolve crumbled. She turned back to face me, her expression hardening into an order rather than a request. "Max, didn't you hear him? He's hungry. Go make some more food. Kyle can't eat spicy food. It upsets his stomach. No seafood either. He's mildly allergic. And he can't have anything too heavy. His digestion is still recovering from the..." Before she could finish his ridiculous VIP menu request. Seriously, was this a sick man or a 5-star restaurant critic? I chugged the last sip of my soup, set down the bowl with a soft clink, let out a very satisfied burp, and looked up with a massive, beaming smile. Kyle froze mid-sentence. His mouth hung open. He had been expecting rage, yes, but a smile? A genuine, almost friendly smile? How was that possible? His mental script had Max either breaking down in tears or exploding in fury. This cheerful indifference was an entirely new variable, and he had no idea how to handle it. In the next second, I slowly opened my mouth and enunciated every word with deliberate precision, letting each syllable land like a hammer blow. "Do. You. Eat. Crap." Kyle blinked, processing the insult. "What? That doesn't even..." Before he could finish that thought, I snatched the luxury fountain pen from the box, the one Lily had bought, the one with the master craftsman's signature, the one meant to be a peace offering, and drove it straight down into the back of Kyle's hand as it rested on the table. Thwack! The sound was sickeningly wet, like a knife piercing overripe fruit. The pen punched clean through flesh and bone, emerging from his palm in a spray of blood, and kept going. The force was so immense that the expensive marble coffee table beneath his hand cracked like a spiderweb, fissures radiating outward from the point of impact. Kyle's reaction was immediate and spectacular. He let out a shriek that could have shattered glass, a high-pitched, animalistic squeal that echoed off the walls and made the chandeliers tremble. His free hand flailed uselessly. His legs buckled. He would have collapsed if the pen hadn't pinned him to the table like a butterfly in a display case. My hand. My hand. Oh God, my hand. Tears and snot streamed down his face in equal measure. The perfect, composed white knight facade had crumbled into a blubbering mess within seconds. The servants in the room witnessed the scene and literally collapsed to the floor in sheer terror. One maid dropped a silver tray with a deafening clatter. A butler stumbled backward into a decorative vase, sending it crashing to the ground. They had seen Max angry before, sullen, petulant, passive-aggressive, but never anything like this. Never cold, calculated, precise violence delivered with a smile. Lily stood frozen, completely traumatized by my sudden explosive brutality. Her brain simply blue-screened. The woman who had confidently ordered me to cook moments ago now stared at the scene with uncomprehending horror, her mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. She had never, ever seen this side of Max. The man she knew was gentle, weak, even, someone who apologized for existing, who thanked her for scraps of attention. But this, break time equals 400 ms, / this wasn't her Max. This was a stranger wearing his face. Kyle's non-stop shrieking finally snapped her back to reality. She lurched forward, her heels skidding on the marble. Max, are you insane? What is wrong with you? Hurry, get him to the hospital. He's bleeding everywhere. I completely ignored her. I pulled a cigarette from my breast pocket, a habit my predecessor had given up years ago to please Lily, who hated the smell, and lit it with a silver lighter that materialized from somewhere. The flame danced for a moment before I snapped it shut and drew in a long, slow drag. Then I leaned forward and blew a thick cloud of smoke right into Kyle's tear-streaked, terror-filled face. You love playing the frail victim in front of me, don't you? My voice was soft, almost gentle. Always so helpless. Always so weak. Always needing Lily to take care of you. To protect you. To choose you over the man who actually loved her. I blew another stream of smoke into his eyes, making him cough and wheeze. Consider this a favor. I've given you something real to cry about. Let's see if your tears are genuine this time. Not those fake, manipulative waterworks you've been practicing in the mirror. Go on. Let your precious Lily feel sorry for you now. Lily trembled uncontrollably, her whole body shaking like a leaf in a hurricane. In her eyes, the man sitting before her wasn't Max. He wasn't even human. He was a beast, a predator wearing human skin, something ancient and dangerous that had been sleeping inside her former lapdog and had finally woken up. She couldn't comprehend the transformation, couldn't accept it. Her mind kept spinning theories. Brain damage from the crash? A psychotic break? Possession? But none of them fit the cold, calculating presence radiating from the man on the sofa. Seeing her stand there like a statue, paralyzed by fear and confusion, I tilted my head and adopted an expression of genuine puzzlement. Why aren't you tending to your sweet little Kyle? If you don't pull that pen out soon, he's going to lose a lot of blood, you know. Human hands have quite a few blood vessels. He could bleed out in, I don't know, 20 minutes? 30? Depends on how fast his heart is racing. And judging by that shrieking, I'd say it's going pretty fast. Even though I was smiling, a pleasant, almost friendly smile, and my voice remained soft and conversational, Lily felt a chill run down her spine that had nothing to do with the room's temperature. But my words reminded her of the immediate crisis. Kyle was bleeding, Kyle was in pain, Kyle needed medical attention. She rushed to his side, her professional composure shattering into panicked, uncoordinated movements. Lily, save me. It hurts so much. I think I'm dying. Max is a psycho. He's insane. He needs to be locked up. Kyle wailed, his voice cracking on every other word. He was hyperventilating now, his free hand clawing uselessly at the table, as if he could somehow pull himself free. Hearing his cries made Lily panic even more. Her training as a CEO, her carefully cultivated image of control and competence, all of it evaporated. She reached out, her fingers brushing the pen still embedded in Kyle's hand, preparing to yank it out. Right as her fingers touched the blood-slicked metal, a whisper echoed right next to her ear. "Oh, so you're really going to pull it?" She froze. Her hand hovered millimeters from the pen. Her brain screamed at her to finish the motion, to save Kyle, to do something, but her body wouldn't obey. The voice, my voice, had been so close, so intimate, like a lover's whisper. And yet it carried a promise of violence that made her blood run cold. Before she could process the threat, she felt like a truck had just rammed into her stomach. The impact folded her in half. A blinding explosion of pain dropped her to her knees as she dry-heaved violently, her diaphragm spasming, her eyes watering, her perfectly applied makeup smearing down her cheeks. I had moved so fast she hadn't even seen the punch coming, a fact that terrified her more than the blow itself. I casually wiped my knuckles on Lily's expensive white blazer, leaving faint red smears on the pristine fabric. My face showed pure disgust, as if touching her had been an unpleasant chore. Then I leaned back on the sofa, made myself comfortable, and rested my feet right on her back as she knelt on the floor, using her like a human footstool. The two people who had just been acting so high and mighty, so superior and condescending, were now absolute wrecks. Kyle pinned to the table, bawling his eyes out like a child who had skinned his knee. Lily kneeling on the floor, struggling to breathe, serving as my personal furniture. The role reversal was delicious. I flicked my cigarette ash onto the marble floor, let the servants clean it up later, and shot a sideways glance at the trembling servants huddled in the corners. "If anyone so much as touches a phone," I said pleasantly, "I guarantee I will personally chop their legs off and use them for soup broth. I'm feeling peckish, and I've heard human legs make excellent stock if you season them properly." Phones clattered to the floor immediately. Several servants prostrated themselves, foreheads pressed to the cold marble, shaking like leaves in a hurricane. They had just witnessed the fate of Kyle and Lily firsthand. The weak, submissive young Master Max was dead. The man sitting before them was a demon wearing his face. Max break time equals 400 ms / cough. Break time equals 400 ms / take your feet off me. Lily choked out between desperate gasps for air, her body trembling under the weight of my boots. Tears and makeup had mixed into a muddy mess on her cheeks. She looked up at me with a mixture of fear, hatred, and something else, something she couldn't quite name. "If you drop my feet," I said lazily, examining my fingernails with exaggerated disinterest, "I promise you I will smash Kyle's head in right in front of you. I'll use that fancy pen still sticking out of his hand, twist it around a bit first, really grind it into the bone, then pull it out and go for the eye sockets. And yours too, naturally. Can't leave witnesses." Lily froze, cold sweat beading on her flawless forehead. She couldn't fathom how Max had changed so drastically. He had actually hit her, struck her, used her as a footstool. The man who used to thank her for breathing the same air was now treating her like dirt. She was supposed to be the one in control. She was supposed to be the one calling the shots. For 3 years, she had held all the power in this relationship, and now, in the span of 10 minutes, that power had been ripped away so completely that she couldn't even imagine getting it back. Nobody knew Max better than she did, or so she had thought. His devotion was carved into his bones, a fundamental part of his identity. All she ever had to do was snap her fingers, and he'd come wagging his tail, eager to please, desperate for validation. But today, this man exuded a natural, suffocating aura of absolute dominance that made her feel like prey. I blew out another puff of smoke and watched it curl toward the ceiling. Beautiful women? Sure, I like them. In my original life, before all this transmigration nonsense, I had enjoyed the company of many beautiful women, but I had never simped for any of them. I had never groveled, never begged, never compromised my dignity for a chance at affection. And as the Dragon King, with trillions in wealth and an army at my command, all I had to do was snap my fingers and beauties would line up at my door. Why would I ever be a simp? Why would anyone? Besides, I needed to vent some anger for the previous owner of this body. The poor bastard had suffered so much. Years of humiliation, rejection, and emotional abuse. All because he loved someone who didn't deserve his devotion. I owed him at least this much. A little revenge. A little catharsis. A little closure. Stop your howling. I snapped, genuinely annoyed by Kyle's pathetic whimpering. The man had been reduced to a sniveling mess. His earlier confidence completely shattered. Honestly, you're embarrassing yourself. Is this the act you've been putting on for Lily? The frail, delicate flower who needs constant care and attention? Because right now you just look pathetic. I waved my hand dismissively. Kyle immediately clamped his free hand over his mouth, stifling his own cries. His eyes were wide with absolute terror, darting between me and Lily, me and the servants, me and the pin still embedded in his flesh. He had no idea why Max had suddenly snapped, what had triggered this transformation, but he knew one thing for certain. He could not survive another round. I took my feet off Lily's back. She exhaled in relief and reached down. My fingers closed around her chin, gripping firmly, and I tilted her face up toward mine. Then I leaned in close and blew smoke directly into her face. The harsh, acrid cloud made her cough violently, tears streaming down her cheeks anew, but she didn't dare pull away. The past Max had been a smoker once, a pack-a-day habit that stained his fingers yellow and left him wheezing after stares. But he quit cold turkey the moment he found out Lily hated the smell. Gave it up without hesitation, without withdrawal, without a single complaint. Because she had asked him to. Because her comfort mattered more than his own. And this was how she had repaid that sacrifice. Watching her choke on the smoke he had blown into her face, I smirked. You're actually pretty funny, you know that? I told you to pull the pin, and you were really going to do it. You didn't hesitate. You didn't think. You just reached for it like a good little puppy following orders. Wow. You must really love your little Kyle, huh? That's dedication. Cough, cough. Max smack. Before she could finish whatever excuse or apology she had been planning to offer, I slapped her right across the face. Crack. The sound was sharp and wet, like a whip cracking. With the system's buff, my physical strength was 10 times that of a normal human. Maybe more, depending on how angry I was. Even holding back, even pulling the punch, the slap instantly made her cheeks swell like a balloon, red and puffy, and already bruising around the edges. Who gave you permission to call me Max? I grabbed a fistful of her hair and yanked her head back, exposing her throat. She gasped, her hands flying up to claw at my wrist. But she might as well have been trying to bend steel. Listen to me very carefully, Lily Yates. From today onwards, we have absolutely nothing to do with each other. The past 3 years are over. The man who loved you is dead, literally dead, as far as I'm concerned. And if you ever dare show your face in front of me again, I will show you what true cruelty looks like. Not this. This was gentle. This was a warning. Next time, I won't warn you. Understood. Lily stared up in sheer panic, meeting my dangerous, predatory gaze. Something in her broke in that moment. Some final resistance, some last shred of the confidence she had always worn like armor. She instinctively nodded, her chin trembling against my grip. I let go of her hair and patted her swollen cheek like I was praising a well-behaved dog. Pat, pat, pat. Good girl. Now, say thank you. Bizarrely enough, and this would haunt her later, in the quiet hours of the night when she couldn't sleep. Despite the overwhelming terror, despite the pain and humiliation, hearing me say good girl sparked a strange, twisted sense of warmth in her chest. Some deep, buried part of her had always wanted to be dominated, had always craved a man strong enough to put her in her place. And Max, this new Max, this terrifying, violent, powerful Max, was exactly that man. Thank you, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Hearing what I wanted, I stood up, dusted off my suit, and walked over to Kyle. I gave him a gentle, almost affectionate smile, the kind of smile you might give a child who had done something foolish but endearing. Take your hand away from your mouth, Kyle. I want to see your face. Terrified, trembling, Kyle slowly lowered the hand covering his mouth. His lips were blue, his teeth chattering, his whole face slick with tears and snot and sweat. He looked like a man who had already died and was just waiting for his body to catch up. The moment his hand dropped, I shoved the burning cherry of my cigarette straight into his open mouth, past his teeth, past his tongue, right into the soft tissue of his throat, and followed it up with a vicious uppercut to his jaw. Crack! The sickening sound of teeth shattering filled the room like breaking glass. The burning tobacco, the hot ash, and the jagged fragments of his own broken teeth were forced down his throat by the impact. Kyle's eyes bulged. His hands flew to his neck. He tried to scream, but only a wet, gurgling noise came out. Then he clutched his stomach, dropped to the floor, and writhed in agony so pure that his body couldn't even produce sound anymore. I burst into genuine laughter, loud, unrestrained, echoing off the walls. All the pent-up frustration I had absorbed while processing the tragic memories of the past life was completely washed away in that one beautiful moment. The sight of Kyle curled on the floor, the smell of burnt tobacco and blood, the sound of Lily's ragged breathing. It was all perfect. Cathartic. Satisfying in a way that nothing else had been since I woke up in this world. At the same moment, a notification chimed in my head, a pleasant, almost musical tone that contrasted sharply with the chaos around me. Ding! Congratulations to the host. By making the leading lady regret her choices, you have successfully reversed the plot line. Rewards distributed. Overall strength increased by 10x. One Dragon Nation Black card loaded with 50 billion US. Equipping a suit increases combat power by 10. Bonus reward. Mental fortitude increased by 50%. Host is now resistant to emotional manipulation and charm effects. Hearing the system's rewards, I paused for a solid 2 seconds, genuinely surprised. Reversing the plot is this easy? I had expected something more complicated, a quest chain, maybe, or a series of difficult choices. But no, all it took was some well-placed violence and a dramatic rejection. So next time I meet a leading lady, I just walk up and slap her? Good to know. Very efficient. I'll have to try that out later. With that happy thought firmly lodged in my mind, I strolled out of the mansion, stepping over Kyle's writhing body and Lily's crumpled form without a second glance. The servants parted before me like the Red Sea, pressing themselves against the walls to avoid even accidental contact. I didn't blame them. I wouldn't want to touch me right now either. I had just arrived in this world, brand new, fresh start, infinite possibilities. Obviously, it was time to enjoy it. But the moment I stepped outside, the warm evening air hit my face, and two figures materialized out of the shadows as if they had been waiting there all along. A man and a woman, both dressed in black tactical gear that hugged their athletic frames. Both dropped to one knee simultaneously, heads bowed in absolute reverence, fists pressed to their chests in the traditional salute of the Dragon King Palace. We greet the Dragon King. Memories flooded back, not the fractured, incomplete memories of my predecessor's domestic life, but the sharp, clear memories of power and blood and command. The Dragon King Palace was a massive overseas syndicate, a shadow empire that stretched across 4 continents and controlled everything from black market arms deals to legitimate multinational corporations. My predecessor, the old Max, had clawed his way to the top of this empire through years of brutal warfare, political maneuvering, and strategic assassinations. He had earned the title of Dragon King through blood and fire, not inheritance. And then, for reasons that still baffled me, he had thrown it all away to become a simp. The old Max, acting as the current Dragon King, had returned to the country 7 years ago and immediately started laying low. He built a covert network of informants and safe houses. He consolidated his power in the shadows while pretending to be nothing more than a wealthy playboy. And then, somewhere along the way, he had gotten distracted, derailed, lost in the delusion that love mattered more than power. Now the 7-year timeline was up. The Dragon King Palace was ready to step out of the shadows and claim its rightful place in the capital's hierarchy. And I, the new Max, would be the one to lead it. The 2 kneeling before me were my left and right enforcers, the most trusted members of my inner circle. The man, Drake, possessed unfathomable combat prowess. He was a master of close-quarters combat, fluent in 17 martial arts, and an expert with every firearm known to man. I had seen him clear a room full of armed hostiles in under 4 seconds. The woman, Kira, was an elite assassin, a virtuoso with cold weapons and stealth techniques that bordered on supernatural. She could kill a man with a credit card and disappear into a crowd so completely that CCTV cameras couldn't track her. Both had followed my past self from the overseas battlefields all the way back to the motherland. Both had watched their Dragon King throw away his empire for the love of a woman who didn't deserve him. And both, I realized with a pang of guilt, had probably been deeply frustrated by his choices. Wait a minute. I suddenly realized a glaring plot hole in my predecessor's timeline. The old Max only simped for Lily for 3 years. What the hell was he doing for the other 4 years after returning to the country? The math didn't add up. 7 years total minus 3 years of Lily equals 4 unaccounted years. For years of what? Training? Scheming? Building the palace? Or, while I was doing mental math, my expression shifting through several stages of confusion, Kira spoke up hesitantly. My king, you mentioned before that today you would help Miss Yates's company go public and secure a billion-dollar contract with the international consortium. We have already prepared the documentation and... I cut her off immediately, my voice sharp. Cancel the contract. Pull every single resource we've ever funneled into her company. Every investor, every client, every back-channel deal, drain it all dry. I want her company to be a hollow shell by morning. Drake looked up, visibly stunned. His weathered face, marked by old scars and hard living, contorted with confusion. But, my king, didn't you say that Miss Yates was the most important person in your life? That you would do anything to make her happy? We have already committed considerable resources to her company. The consortium is expecting. Do you not understand English? My voice was flat, devoid of emotion, colder than the grave. I gave you an order. I don't need commentary. I don't need opinions. I need obedience. Is that clear? Kira, who had just started to stand from her kneeling position, immediately slammed her knee back onto the pavement with a painful-sounding crack. Her head bowed even lower, her voice trembling slightly. Forgive me, Dragon King. This subordinate overstepped. It will not happen again. It's fine. I waved my hand dismissively, already moving past the moment. Just remember this. As of right now, Lily Yates is dead to us. She doesn't exist. Her company doesn't exist. Her problems don't exist. Ignore her existence completely. But, I paused, letting the weight of my next words settle. If she dares to actively provoke us, if she comes near me, if she tries to contact me, if she does anything other than disappear quietly, wipe her out. Completely. I want no trace of her left in this world. Both enforcers were clearly shocked by this sudden reversal. For years, they had watched their king sacrifice everything for Lily. His time, his resources, his dignity. And now, in the span of a single evening, he was ordering her annihilation if she so much as looked at him wrong. But they knew better than to question a direct order from the Dragon King. However, as Kira rose to her feet, a hesitant look crossed her striking face. She seemed to be weighing her words carefully, unsure whether to speak. Finally, she said, "Recently, Miss Samantha has run into some trouble. The Vance family in the capital is forcing her into an arranged marriage with the eldest son of the Zhang family. She has been trying to contact you for weeks. Should we intervene?" "Samantha?" I blinked. Who the heck is Samantha? Right on cue, a massive data dump of memories assaulted my brain, like someone had opened a fire hose of information directly into my skull. Included in the files was the name Samantha, along with a cascade of images, conversations, and emotional residues. Samantha, Chloe, Vanessa, Isabella. A whole catalog of absolutely stunning, bombshell beauties flashed through my mind in rapid succession. Each face was accompanied by a file of memories, dates, gifts, promises, heartbreaks. The more memories I unlocked, the wider my jaw dropped. No wonder the guy had been back for 7 years, but only simped for Lily for 3. Before Lily, he had been simping for an entire roster of women, sometimes 2 or 3 at a time, though never simultaneously because he was too guilt-ridden for that. He'd meet one, fall desperately in love, shower her with gifts and attention, get dumped, spend weeks crying into his whiskey, then move to the next. And he gave 110%. Every single time. I was utterly speechless. My predecessor wasn't just a simp. He was the supreme alpha of all simps, the undisputed champion of unrequited love, the patron saint of wasted effort. The man had turned simping into an art form. "Bro," I thought, addressing the ghost of the old Max, "I misjudged you. I thought you were just a pathetic loser. But you were something far more impressive, a professional. A connoisseur of suffering. You dedicated your life to the pursuit of romantic rejection with the focus and dedication of a monk seeking enlightenment. I can't even be mad. I'm just break time equals 400 ms/impressed." Seeing my stunned silence, my mouth hanging open, my eyes glazed over as I processed the flood of memories, a look of sadness flashed in Kira's eyes. She misinterpreted my shock as grief over Samantha's situation. "My king, I understand how painful this must be. But we cannot allow the Vance family to force Miss Samantha into a marriage she does not want. I will go and stop this arrangement immediately, by negotiation or by force, whichever you prefer." Wait. I quickly held up a hand, stopping her. "Don't bother. Not with Samantha, not with Chloe, not with Vanessa, not with anyone else on that list. From now on, do not report anything about them to me. I don't want to know if they're getting married, divorced, kidnapped, or struck by lightning. They are not my concern." Drake and Kira exchanged bewildered glances, the kind of look shared between two people who had just watched their entire worldview crumble. Wasn't their boss a hopeless romantic? Wasn't he the kind of man who wrote poetry, sent flowers, and cried during romantic comedies? For years, they had grown completely used to running errands and playing guardian angels for his harem of exes. They had rescued Samantha from a stalker, helped Chloe's brother with his gambling debts, and provided security for Vanessa's art gallery openings. And now, suddenly, he didn't care. Both of them looked lost, like they had just been stripped of their life's purpose. Like loyal dogs whose master had suddenly stopped throwing the ball. Looking at their expressions, the genuine confusion, the almost existential distress, I wanted to facepalm so hard I'd leave a dent. Honestly, after reviewing the memories, I knew exactly how absurd the old me had been. Holding the keys to a global empire, trillions in wealth, an army of elite soldiers, intelligence networks that span the globe, and using that power exclusively to provide unconditional customer service to a bunch of women who didn't appreciate him? Anyone would be furious. I rubbed my temples, feeling the beginning of a headache. All right, snap out of it. Both of you. Give me a place to stay. Something secure, comfortable, and far away from any of my exes. Drake immediately snapped to attention, relieved to have a clear order. Rest assured, my king. The residence is already prepped and waiting. We secured the property 3 months ago in anticipation of your return. The car is waiting right outside the gate. He reached into his jacket and withdrew a set of car keys attached to a small silver dragon fob, along with a leather-bound property deed embossed with gold lettering. Cloudscape Villas, number 1. The most secure and prestigious address in the capital. Every amenity you could possibly desire has been installed. Whoosh. With a flash of light and a faint ripple in the air, the deed and keys vanished from his hand, absorbed into my system inventory. Both enforcers' eyes bulged. Drake actually stumbled backward half a step, while Kira's hand flew to the knife at her belt on pure instinct. It had been several years since they'd last seen the Dragon King in person, but since when did he know magic tricks? Where had the items gone? Had he always been able to do that? Loyal to a fault, they kept their questions to themselves, swallowing their curiosity with visible effort. I didn't bother explaining. It was just the system's inventory function, not a massive space, only about the size of a small closet, but perfectly fine for storing keys, documents, and the occasional weapon. No need to reveal all my secrets on the first day. Seeing the items safely stowed, and noticing my enforcers slowly relaxing from their combat-ready stances, Drake cleared his throat and continued. My king, there is another matter. In 3 days, the Capital Commerce Center is hosting a major gala. The biggest players in the business world will be there, CEOs, politicians, underworld figures, all mingling under the guise of charity. If you want to quickly establish dominance in the capital and announce your return to the world, this is the perfect stepping stone. He reached into his jacket again. Was there a pocket dimension in there? And produced a luxurious gold-embossed invitation. The paper was thick and creamy, handmade, embedded with actual gold leaf along the edges. A wax seal bearing the Commerce Center's insignia held it closed. This is a gold-tier invitation reserved only for the absolute elites, the top 1% of the 1%. There are only 3 of these in the entire city. Just show this at the door, and they will roll out the red carpet. Literally. They have a literal red carpet. I took the invitation, flipped it open, scanned the contents. Formal language, dress code, black tie. A mention of a charity auction for orphaned children. How wholesome. And casually tossed it into my inventory. The gala could wait. First, I needed to settle in, get my bearings, and figure out exactly what kind of world I had landed in. Drake nodded approvingly, then hesitated. His jaw worked for a moment, as if he were chewing on words he didn't want to say. Finally, he spoke cautiously. One more thing, my king. The dragon god. Word on the street is he's returning to the country. Soon. Possibly within the week. I paused mid-step, 1 foot hovering over the threshold of the waiting car. The memories clicked into place immediately, sharp and clear, unlike the romantic memories which were fuzzy with emotion. The so-called dragon god was the man who had lost the battle for the throne of the Dragon King Palace. They called him the previous generation, but he was only a few years older than me. He had been my predecessor's rival, mentor, and betrayer, all rolled into one complicated package. If he was coming back for the throne, and he almost certainly was, things could get slightly annoying. Slightly. The man was no pushover. He had built the Dragon King Palace from nothing, expanded its influence across 3 continents, and only lost the throne because of a betrayal within his own inner circle. And now he was returning, likely hungry for revenge and power in equal measure. Thinking of his face from the memories, cold, calculating, utterly without mercy, a dangerous glint flashed in my eyes. If the dragon god was returning, I needed to set my pieces on the board before the gala. Make alliances. Gather intelligence. Prepare contingencies. 3 days from now would be the perfect hunting ground. A crowded room full of powerful people where anything could happen. With that thought firmly lodged in my mind, I dropped into the driver's seat of the waiting car, a sleek black hypercar that purred like a sleeping tiger and floored the gas pedal. The V12 engine roared to life, a sound like thunder trapped in metal, and I sped toward the address on the deed. Clouscape Villas was the most exclusive real estate in the capital, a gated community so prestigious that the waiting list for a viewing was measured in years, not months. The people living here were either billionaires or royalty, old money or new power, but all of them possessed something that set them apart from the masses: influence. The kind of influence that could move markets, topple governments, or make problems disappear with a single phone call. The security guards at the gate immediately jogged over, bowing respectfully as the roaring engine idled at the gates. Even though my car didn't have plates yet, fresh off the boat, literally, they weren't stupid enough to offend anyone driving a hypercar in this neighborhood. The vehicle alone cost more than most of their annual salaries combined, and the kind of person who could afford such a car was the kind of person who could make their lives very difficult with a single phone call. "Sir," the head guard said, his voice carefully neutral, "are you visiting a resident? Or is this a new vehicle? I can process the registration for you immediately. We just need some basic documentation, proof of ownership, insurance, that sort of thing." I rolled down the window and handed him the deed without a word. The guard took the leather-bound document with both hands, the way you might handle a religious relic, and opened it. His jaw practically hit the pavement. His eyes went wide, then wider, then impossibly wide. His partner peered over his shoulder and made a sound like a dying animal. "Villa break time equals 400 ms / Villa number 1. The guard's voice cracked. "This is break time equals 400 ms / sir. This is the holy grail of the estate. The number 1 property has been highly coveted by the nation's elite for decades. The developers have refused to sell it to anyone, literally anyone, no matter the price. There have been rumors that it was being held for someone special, someone who hadn't arrived yet, but no one believed break time equals 400 ms / He trailed off, clearly struggling to process the information. Then, with the speed of a man who had just realized he was standing in the presence of something far beyond his station, he snapped to attention. "Right away, sir. I'll process the registration at lightning speed. Welcome to Clouscape Villas, Villa number 1. He personally guided my car through the gates and into the private garage of the villa, a 6-car garage that currently held only my hypercar, looking somewhat lonely in the vast space. Then he retreated, bowing repeatedly, leaving me alone to explore my new home. The front yard was a sprawling private garden, bursting with exotic flowers and winding pathways that seemed designed for quiet contemplation. Japanese maples, English roses, French lavender. It was like someone had taken the best gardens from around the world and mashed them together into a botanical paradise. A koi pond shimmered in the center, the fish fat and colorful, clearly well cared for. Inside was a palace. I'm not exaggerating, it was literally a palace. Crystal chandeliers hung from vaulted ceilings. Flawless marble floors reflected the warm glow of hidden lighting. Imported luxury furniture, Italian leather, French antiques, Chinese silk, filled every room. Priceless art hung on the walls, originals by masters, pieces that belonged in museums, acquisitions that would make collectors weep with envy. Every detail screamed obscene wealth. The kind of wealth that didn't just buy things, it bought history, legacy, immortality. I sank into the plush sofa in the master living room, sinking so deep into the cushions that I practically disappeared, and let out a long, contented sigh. Now, this is living. This was what power was supposed to feel like. Not groveling at the feet of ungrateful women, not cooking gourmet meals for people who didn't appreciate them, but sitting on a throne of luxury and watching the world come to you. My past self had access to all of this. Every silk cushion, every crystal chandelier, every priceless painting. And yet he chose to play the role of a miserable simp, living in a smaller house, still nice, but not this nice, and spending his days trying to win the approval of women who saw him as nothing more than an ATM with legs. What an absolute waste of oxygen. What a tragedy of misplaced priorities. I shook my head, about to close my eyes and take a well-deserved nap, when my phone buzzed with an incoming call. Unknown number. I let it ring once, twice, 3 times, enjoying the silence, before lazily picking it up. Hello. Is break time equals 400 ms / is this Max? A woman's voice trembled on the other end, sounding like she was on the verge of tears. The line crackled slightly. Long distance, maybe, or bad reception. I frowned. The voice stirred something in the back of my mind, some half-buried memory, but I couldn't place it. It wasn't from my predecessor's recent memories, Lily, Samantha, any of the usual suspects. It was older, fainter, like a photograph faded by sunlight. Speaking. Who's this? Oh, thank God. It's me, Victoria. The voice instantly spiked with frantic emotion, relief, and desperation tangled together. Victoria Vance. Your mother, Max. I've been looking for you for so long, and I finally found you. And I'm your daddy. I sneered, hanging up immediately. Scammers were getting more creative these days, I give them that. The long-lost mother routine? Classic. Straight out of the playbook. But as I set the phone down, a nagging feeling tugged at my consciousness. In my predecessor's memories, the old Max did have biological parents, somewhere in the distant past. But ever since they found their adopted son, a boy named Tommy, who had been taken in after Max went missing, the old Max had packed his bags and left the family. By age 15, he went overseas and cut off all contact. He knew the saying, blood is thicker than water. So he voluntarily stepped aside, giving up any claim to the Vance family legacy. It had been over a decade. Surely they had forgotten him by now. Surely they had moved on with their lives, their adopted son, their perfect family. So why would someone be calling now, claiming to be his mother? While I was lost in thought, the phone rang again. Same unknown number. Annoyed, I answered. Are scammers just doing live cold calls now? Straight to the I'm your mommy routine? I've got to say, your script needs work. The emotional manipulation is too heavy-handed. You should start with something subtler, build up to the, Max, it really is Mom. We lost you so many years ago, and we've been searching ever since. Please, just listen. The woman's voice was racked with genuine sorrow, the kind of pain that couldn't be faked, not even by a professional actress. Back then, we were being hunted by enemies. Your father's rivals wanted to destroy our family. In the chaos of the attack, you were taken. Kidnapped. We thought you were dead for years, until we got word that someone matching your description had purchased Villa Number 1. Please, Max. Please don't hate us. Just give us a chance to make it up to you. Please. She was practically begging now, her voice cracking on every other word. The background sound suggested she wasn't alone. I could hear muffled voices, someone telling her to calm down, someone else breathing heavily. My face remained totally impassive as I listened, but my mind was racing. I knew my past self was an orphan, or rather, had grown up believing he was an orphan. But how he became one was always a blank spot in the memories, a hole in the narrative that no amount of mental excavation could fill. Could this actually be the biological family, reaching out after all these years? Honestly, I couldn't care less about some random family popping out of the woodwork. To me, the only family that mattered was the adoptive one that actually raised the old Max, the Sterlings, who had taken him in when he had nothing, who had loved him without conditions, who had never made him feel like a replacement. But, since the Sterlings had their real son back, Mason, the biological child, I had no intention of crashing their happy reunion, either. Two families fighting over me. No thank you. That sounded exhausting. Max, are you listening to me? The woman's voice was cracking, desperate now. Please, just let me see you just once. Your father, your sister, your brother, we've all missed you so much. Tommy talks about you all the time, even though he's never met you. Just one meeting. I'm begging you. One meeting, and if you never want to see us again, I'll respect that. Just break time equals 400 ms / please. I flicked my lighter, lit a cigarette, and slowly blew out a stream of smoke, watching it curl toward the ceiling. The silence stretched between us, heavy and expectant. Finally, I spoke. Cloudscape Villas, number 1. I'll give you 15 minutes. No more. Okay, we're coming right now. The call disconnected. I stared at the phone for a long moment, then tossed it onto the cushion beside me and fell deep into thought. This world was getting more absurd by the minute. Dragon kings, dragon gods, martial arts masters, long-lost biological families, adopted siblings with inheritance dramas. It was like someone had thrown every web novel trope into a blender and hit puree. Even as a transmigrator, surviving here wouldn't be a walk in the park. One wrong move, one misplaced trust, and I could get played to death. As for this Vance family, I could feel it in my bones. The lingering soul of the past Max still had some unresolved emotional baggage attached to them. Some unfinished business. Some buried pain that hadn't been processed. I might as well meet them, if only to put that ghost to rest. And if nothing else, I could use them to gather some intel on how this world's political landscape operated. Knowledge was power, after all. Before long, estate security called to confirm the arrival of visitors claiming to be my family. I authorized entry. Might as well get this over with, and waited. The doorbell rang a few minutes later. I got up, muttering to myself, I really need to hire some maids. Opening my own door is exhausting. The moment I opened the door, a highly elegant, wealthy-looking woman lunged forward and threw her arms around me, sobbing into my chest. Max, my baby, my little boy. I frowned, gently but firmly peeling her off me. Come inside and talk. We're not doing this on the doorstep. The woman's eyes went red, tears spilling over her carefully made-up cheeks. How break time equals 400 ms / how can you treat your own mother like this? After all these years, you don't even want to hug me? Behind her stood a young man, early 20s, I guessed, biting his lip and looking like he was bearing the weight of the world's injustices on his narrow shoulders. He had a scrawny, almost sickly look, the kind that came from never doing a day of manual labor in his life. His face was arranged in an expression of brave martyrdom, as if he expected to be crucified at any moment. Next to him stood a middle-aged man radiating authority, tall, broad-shouldered, with the kind of presence that made people straighten their spines unconsciously. Though he was trembling slightly, probably from emotion, there was steel in his bearing. He was someone accustomed to command. And beside him, a woman around 25 with the sharp, intimidating aura of a ruthless corporate CEO. Her striking features were arranged in an expression of cold assessment, as if she were evaluating an acquisition target rather than a long-lost brother. She wore a designer pantsuit that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent, and her heels added 3 inches to her already impressive height. The whole gang was here. Hearing the young man's complaint, some mumbled comment about how I was being ungrateful and cold. I shot him a cold smirk. What kind of garbage is spilling out of your mouth? Sounds like you'd rather get lost than come inside. In that case, get lost. Slam. I shut the heavy door right in their faces. The force of the door actually blew the hair back on their heads. I could hear the woman's gasp of surprise, the young man's indignant sputter. The 4 of them stood on the porch, staring at each other in utter disbelief. They clearly hadn't expected me to pull a move like that. Most people, when confronted with a wealthy, powerful family begging for reconciliation, would have fallen over themselves to accept. But I wasn't most people. The CEO woman, Tessa, if my memory served, turned and scolded the young man. Tommy, we lost him for years. It's completely normal for him to have some resentment now that we finally found him. Stop making this about you. But Mom, Tommy Vance looked incredibly wronged, his lower lip actually trembling. I'm just looking out for you. Even if he hates us, he shouldn't treat you like that. You're his mother. He lowered his head, playing the martyr with theatrical precision. I know what this is. It's because I'm the adopted son. He thinks I stole his place. Eventually, you're all going to kick me out, and then he'll be happy. Tommy, no. Tessa looked genuinely heartbroken at the thought. This has nothing to do with you. Max grew up in an orphanage. He doesn't know how to be part of a family. It's normal that his personality is a bit break time equals 400 ms / eccentric. Don't worry, we won't let you go anywhere. You're my little brother forever, no matter what. Sister, break time equals 400 ms / Tommy looked so touched he was about to cry. Before they could continue their soap opera melodrama, the middle-aged man, Lionel Vance, the patriarch, finally barked, "Enough. We're standing on a porch like common beggars. What are you babbling about? If we have something to say, we say it inside." He gestured for his wife to ring the bell again. I opened the door, leaning against the frame with a mocking smile, before she could. What? Forgot something. Max, can you just let us in? Didn't you agree to let your mother see you? We traveled across the city to get here. The least you could do is be civil. Cut the begging. I raised a hand to stop the woman. Victoria, I reminded myself, from bowing. I feel absolutely nothing for you people. But I'm not psycho enough to make a woman who might actually be my biological mother bow to me on my own doorstep. I stepped aside, holding the door open. I'm a transmigrator and I do whatever I want, but I draw the line at being a complete sociopath. Come in. Sit down. Say what you came to say, then leave. The living room felt smaller with 5 people in it, especially 4 people who seemed to take up emotional space like they were paying rent. I took the master sofa, the biggest, most comfortable seat in the house, lit another cigarette, and gestured casually with my free hand. Sit. The 4 of them sat down on the opposite sofa, arranged in a neat row like a family portrait. Victoria Vance, my alleged mother, sat in the middle, flanked by Lionel on one side and Tessa on the other. Tommy perched on the end, looking like he was ready to bolt at any moment. Dead silence. The atmosphere in the room grew incredibly awkward, thick with unspoken words and buried resentments. Noticing Victoria just staring at me like I was a museum exhibit she'd been searching for her whole life, I pulled out my cigarette pack and extended it toward her. Care for a smoke, ma'am? Victoria's face froze, clearly not expecting that. Max, is that how you speak to your own mother? Offering her a cigarette like she's a stranger at a bar. Tessa, the corporate ice queen, couldn't take it anymore. She shot to her feet, her heels clicking against the marble, and glared at me with pure disgust. This is what you've become? A sarcastic chain smoker who lives in a mansion and treats his own mother like a door-to-door saleswoman? Do you have any idea what we went through to find you? The resources we spent, the favors we called in, I gave her a lazy sideways glance, blowing a stream of smoke in her direction. She coughed and waved it away, her glare intensifying. What does the angry lady want? A drag too? Or did you come all this way just to lecture me about my life choices? Because I've got to say, I've had better lectures from drunk uncles at weddings. Do you people even have a DNA test? I interrupted, my voice still calm. Or are we doing the whole blood drop in a bowl of water medieval thing? Because I prefer the DNA test. Less messy. Also, I don't trust your blood not to stain my floors. I don't know if she's my mother or not. I continued, standing up slowly. A massive, suffocating wave of killing intent instantly flooded the room, choking the air out of their lungs. The lights seemed to dim. The temperature dropped. Every instinct in their bodies screamed danger. But I do know this. If you use that tone of voice with me again, if you glare at me like I'm something you scraped off your shoe, I will personally throw you out the front door. and I won't open it first. You'll make a new exit. Through the wall. Tessa opened her mouth to argue. Her pride wouldn't let her back down easily, but Lionel roared, "Enough! Sit down, Tessa." Now. Tessa reluctantly sat back down, but a flash of genuine fear crossed her eyes. Just a second ago, she swore she smelled actual blood radiating from Max. It was like staring down an apex predator, a lion, a tiger, something that could end her life without a second thought. Even if her father hadn't yelled, her survival instincts were screaming at her to sit down and shut up. I slowly exhaled a cloud of smoke, watching it drift toward the ceiling. All right, let's get to the point. You came here for a reason. Speak fast. I'm hungry. And once I'm done dealing with you lot, I need to go eat. Preferably something that doesn't require me to listen to family drama while I chew. Realizing they needed to cut to the chase, Victoria hurriedly explained their identities and how we were related. The Vance family, she explained, was a top-tier powerhouse in the capital, old money, deep connections, a legacy that stretched back generations. The man was Lionel Vance, the patriarch, a former military officer who had turned the family business into a multinational conglomerate. The woman was Victoria Vance, his wife, from another prominent family. The IC CEO was my older sister, Tessa Vance, who had been running the day-to-day operations since Lionel's health had started declining. And the whiny kid was the adopted son, Tommy Vance, who had been taken in when I was presumed dead. The Vance Group was valued at over $500 billion, with interests in real estate, technology, defense contracting, and international shipping. They were one of the most powerful families in the country, with connections that reached into the highest levels of government. Years ago, during a brutal war for the position of patriarch, enemies had swarmed them. Lionel's rivals had hired assassins, bribed officials, turned allies into enemies. In the chaos of one particularly violent attack, I was kidnapped, snatched from my nanny's arms, and bundled into a waiting car. The kidnappers planned to use me as leverage against Lionel, but they got wiped out by a rival faction before they could make their demands. The trail went cold. I was dumped at an orphanage with no identification, no records, no way to trace me back to the Vance family. And there I stayed. For years. Growing up in the system, never knowing that I had a family who was looking for me. It was only a few days ago, Victoria explained, when they caught wind that someone named Max Sterling had purchased Clouscape Villa No. 1, a property that had been reserved for the Vance family for generations, that they tracked me down. The name Sterling had triggered an alert in their system. A background check had turned up my orphanage records. And then, finally, after nearly 2 decades, they had found their son. Listening to Victoria's story, I couldn't help but marvel at the sheer absurdity of it all. Isn't this the exact plot of one of those real versus fake young masterweb novels? The long-lost heir, the adoptive sibling who feels threatened, the family trying to make amends. It was like someone had ripped the pages out of a best-selling novel and turned them into my life. I just escaped a tragic simp plotline, and now I've tripped and fallen into family inheritance drama. Add in the overpowered Dragon King stuff, the system notifications, the rival chosen ones with their own abilities, and this world was a migraine waiting to happen. If a reincarnated immortal emperor showed up next, I wouldn't even be surprised. I'd just sigh and add him to the list. Son, are you listening? Victoria asked carefully, noticing my weird expression, a mixture of amusement, exhaustion, and mild disbelief. Snapping back to reality, I blew out some smoke. I hear you. It's a very touching story. Really, Hallmark should make a movie about it. So what? What's your endgame here? You didn't track me down across 2 decades just to say hello. The blunt question caught Victoria off guard, but she quickly softened her tone. Naturally, we want you to come home to the Vance family. Reclaim your true name, Max Vance, not Sterling. Reclaim your birthright. We don't want you out here suffering all alone, without family, without support. Suffering. I almost burst out laughing. I gestured around the room, at the crystal chandeliers, the marble floors, the priceless art, the imported furniture. Lady, what exactly are you smoking? And can I get some? Because you must be on something strong to look at this palace and think I'm suffering. Do you not see this massive mansion? The walls literally have jade inlaid in them. The sofa you're sitting on cost more than most people's houses. Do you know how much this place costs, and you think I'm suffering? Not just Victoria, but even Lionel looked at me with deep sorrow, the kind of pity reserved for people who didn't know they needed pity. Tessa and Tommy, however, had their guards up, their eyes sharp and calculating. They were clearly worried I was here to steal the inheritance, to swoop in like a vulture and take everything they had worked for. Look, Mrs. Vance, I don't know what else to call you, so Mrs. Vance it is. With what eye do you see me suffering? I'm living like a king. I have more money than I know what to do with. I have an army at my command. I have a system in my head that rewards me for being awesome. And as for changing my name, pass. I'm used to Sterling. It's the name of the family that actually raised me, that actually loved me, that didn't abandon me to an orphanage for 20 years. Besides, Vance sounds kind of lame. Like a car brand for old people. Lame. The entire Vance family sat there, utterly stupefied. This was the first time in history anyone had ever rejected them because their billionaire son's name sounded lame. Tommy seized his moment like a shark smelling blood. He jumped to his feet with righteous fury, his voice trembling with manufactured outrage. I know you're upset. I know you blame us, blame me, for taking your place. But you can't talk to our parents like that. They've never stopped looking for you. They've spent millions on private investigators, on DNA databases, on everything they could think of. It's not their fault you were lost. It's not my fault I was adopted. And if you really hate seeing me so much, if my presence is truly that unbearable, then fine. I'll pack my bags and leave the Vance family today. I'll disappear, just like you did. Would that make you happy? By the end of his speech, tears were literally welling up in his eyes, threatening to spill down his cheeks. His voice cracked on the last word. It was a performance worthy of an Oscar. The wronged innocent, the sacrificial lamb, the poor adopted son being pushed out by the jealous biological heir. Victoria's heart visibly broke. She reached out and grabbed Tommy's hand, pulling him back down onto the sofa. Tommy, what are you saying? Max is your brother. Even if he comes back, even if he takes his rightful place in the family, we will always love you. You're not going anywhere. This is your home as much as anyone's. I watched this unfold and was completely speechless. Holy crap. This guy was a textbook pick-me boy, just like Kyle. The same manipulative tears, the same fake vulnerability, the same, I'm the victim here, energy. Was this world mass-producing these guys? Was there a factory somewhere churning out weepy, passive-aggressive, emotionally manipulative men? At this rate, I was going to need a punch card just to keep track of all the people I wanted to hit. Exactly. Tessa stood up to defend him, stepping between Tommy and me as if I were about to attack. Tommy, don't worry. No one is taking your place. You are my little brother, and I will always protect you. Max can have a place in the family, but he doesn't get to push you out. Mom, sister, break time equals 400 ms / Tommy looked at the two women with such gratitude, such devotion, such pathetic neediness that I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. God damn it. I was so distracted by this soap opera unfolding in my living room that I almost let my cigarette burn my fingers. I crushed the cigarette in an ashtray, crossed my legs, and stared at them with an expression of profound boredom. Can you guys wrap up this deep family bond theater? I almost burned my hand. How about you take this performance back to your own house and practice in front of a mirror? You're blocking my view of the window. Victoria finally remembered why she was here and hurried over to me, kneeling in front of my sofa like a supplicant before a king. Max, can you please forgive Mom? Please? After all these years apart, we want to make it up to you. I'm willing to give you anything. Anything. Just name it. Really? I glanced at Tommy, a dangerous smirk playing on my lips. Then go slap him twice. Looking at his face is giving me a headache. And honestly, I think it would do him some good. Build character. Teach him that tears don't work on everyone. Dead silence. Victoria's eyes filled with conflict and pain, her hand twitching involuntarily. Tessa stared at me in disbelief, her mouth hanging open. Max, are you crazy? That's your brother. Family doesn't hit family. What kind of monster are you? Lionel frowned deeply, his eyes full of suspicion and, beneath that, something else, curiosity. As the patriarch of the Vance family, he wasn't stupid. Before coming here, he had pulled Max's file. The overseas records were blank, redacted, blacked out, deliberately erased. But since returning to the country, Max had been a notoriously weak, spineless simp, according to the reports. A man who cooked for his girlfriend, who let her walk all over him, who had no backbone whatsoever. But the man sitting in front of him wasn't weak. He carried himself with the natural arrogance of a king, someone accustomed to obedience, to deference, to having his orders followed without question. The file was wrong, or outdated, or deliberately misleading. Either way, Lionel was reevaluating everything he thought he knew about his biological son. Victoria wasn't thinking that deeply. She just looked at me with pure anxiety, her hands clasped together. Max, Tommy is your brother. How could you ask me to hit him? That's not who I am. That's not who our family is. All right, that's enough. I waved my hand impatiently, cutting her off. I have zero interest in playing happy family with you people. I don't want to attend your holiday dinners. I don't want to be in your family photos. I definitely don't want to be the heir to whatever the Vance family is, fighting with your adopted son for scraps of your approval. The door's that way. See yourselves out. And don't let it hit you on the way out. Max, you can't do this. Hearing my ultimate rejection, Victoria finally panicked. Her composure shattered. Her voice rose to a desperate pitch. You're my son. My son. I carried you. I gave birth to you. I mourned you for years. You can't just reject me like this. You can't. She turned to look at Tommy, her hand twitching involuntarily. Her biological son was sitting right in front of her, cold and unreachable, refusing to acknowledge her. She felt like she owed him the world. Every moment she hadn't been there, every birthday she had missed, every tear he had cried alone. If slapping Tommy meant getting Max back, maybe, just maybe, she'd do it. But before she could move, Tommy let out a tragic sob, covering his face with his hands. His shoulders shook. His voice was so mournful it could make rocks cry. It's fine, Mom. I understand. He's your real son. I'm just the replacement. Just hit me. I deserve it. I've been living a lie all these years. I just scowled. What the hell is this? Is this guy even a man? Why is everyone I meet a drama queen? First Kyle, now Tommy. Was there a support group for melodramatic crybabies that I didn't know about? And if so, could I get them banned from it? Tommy's performance made Victoria flinch, her resolve wavering. Her hand hovered in the air, torn between two suns. Seeing her hesitation, a smug glint flashed in Tommy's eyes, so quick I almost missed it. Yes, he was thinking, as long as I use family ties to lock them down, Max, a child with no foundation, no connections, no understanding of how the Vance family works, can't compete with me. The heir to the Vance family will be me. Max, you pathetic simp, just stay out of my way. Thinking this, he dialed up the tragedy to 11. Mom, if he really hates me that much, just hit me. If it brings him home, you can beat me to death. I won't complain. I'll just be grateful that my existence served some purpose. Tommy, stop talking. Victoria and Tessa rushed forward to comfort him, wrapping their arms around him protectively. I sat on the sofa. Lionel sat on the other sofa. We both had the exact same frown and the exact same speechlessly annoyed expression as we watched this Oscar-worthy performance unfold. Father and son, united in exasperation, separated by 2 decades of distance. Lionel looked at Tommy whining on the floor, deep dissatisfaction brewing in his eyes. The Vance family was built on ruthless strength, on the kind of iron will that had built an empire from nothing. The war for succession in elite families was famously brutal. Siblings turned against siblings. Alliances shifted like sand. The weak were devoured. And yet, here was Tommy crying at the drop of a hat, playing the victim, manipulating with tears instead of strategy. Clearly, he didn't share the Vance bloodline. He was useless. A liability. Someone who would crumble the moment things got difficult. Max, on the other hand, despite the horrible intel report, was anything but weak in person. Sure, he was rude and arrogant and apparently willing to put his feet on people's backs. But an heir to the Vance family needed fangs. Needed claws. Needed to be willing to get their hands dirty. And Max, whatever else he was, clearly had that. Having reached his limit, Lionel jumped up and roared. A grown man crying like a baby. What a total disgrace. Since when does the Vance family raise such pathetic trash? His voice echoed off the walls, making the chandeliers tremble. Tommy froze, unable to believe that his usually doting father would say something so harsh. Dad? What do you mean? I'm just... Don't dad me. Lionel snapped coldly. Look at the mess you've made. What is the Vance family known for? Strength. Power. The ability to stare down our enemies without flinching. If our heirs are this spineless, if they crumble into tears the moment someone looks at them wrong, the other syndicates will swallow us whole. The Zhongs, the Winstons, the Sterlings, they'll tear us apart and pick at the bones. Hearing her father's reprimand, Tessa gritted her teeth. She pulled a dossier out of her designer bag, a thick folder bulging with papers, and threw it onto the coffee table with a slap. So what? At least Tommy loves us. At least he's loyal. What about Max? Look at him. She pointed a perfectly manicured finger at me, her voice dripping with contempt. For the past few years, he's been nothing but a pathetic lapdog for some woman named Lily Yates. He cooked for her. He cleaned for her. He spent millions on her company. He was a simp, Dad. A complete and utter doormat. Does someone like that deserve to be the Vance heir? I will never accept him. Never. Seeing Tessa fiercely defend him, Tommy shot me a triumphant look. A quick, smug glance that said, see? They love me more than you. You'll never win. Bang. I casually kicked the solid jade coffee table. Not hard, just a gentle nudge, really. But the massive, heavy slab of stone slid 2 meters across the floor, scraping grooves into the marble, and stopped inches away from shattering Tessa's kneecaps. She screamed and fell backward onto the floor, cold sweat pouring down her face like a waterfall, her designer heels skidding across the polished stone. I stood up slowly, my eyes practically freezing over. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 20 degrees. You said your name was Tessa, right? My voice was soft, almost gentle, the kind of softness that precedes a hurricane. Have I been too polite to you? Because I feel like I've been very polite. I let you into my home. I listened to your story. I didn't immediately throw you out when you started insulting me. And this is how you repay my hospitality? By calling me a doormat in my own living room. What are you talking about? Tessa's voice shook, clearly terrified by the display of brute force. The coffee table weighed at least 500 pounds, solid jade, polished to a mirror shine, and I had moved it like it was made of cardboard. I slowly walked over to her, my footsteps echoing in the silence. Click, click, click. Each step brought me closer, and each step made her flinch. Tessa tried to keep her composure. She was a CEO. Damn it. She had faced down hostile boardrooms and aggressive competitors, but as my shadow fell over her, something broke. She scrambled backward on her hands and heels until she was pressed against the sofa, her back against the cushions, nowhere left to retreat. Her soul practically left her body. Her eyes were wide, white showing all around the irises. Victoria finally snapped out of her shock and threw herself in front of me, arms spread wide like a human shield. Max, Mom knows you hate us, and it's all my fault. I should have searched harder. I should have never stopped looking. If you want to blame someone, blame me. Hit me instead. Just don't. Lady, you're deeply confused. I cut her off sharply, my voice flat. When did I ever agree that you people were my family? When did I ever say I hated you? Hate requires emotional investment. I feel absolutely nothing for you. You're strangers who showed up at my door with a sob story. That's all. I turned my gaze back to Tessa, still cowering against the sofa. And as I just said, if she keeps barking at me, I will physically throw her out. I don't make empty threats. Ask Lily. Ask Kyle. They learned that lesson tonight. Brother, please don't be mad at her. Though terrified, his face was pale, his hands shaking. Tommy knew this was his moment to shine. If he could make the Vance family hate Max completely, if he could position himself as the noble martyr who tried to protect his sister, his position would be secured forever. He pulled Victoria behind him, puffing out his chest, trying to look heroic despite his trembling knees. If you're angry, take it out on me. They only acted like this because of me, because they love me and want to protect me. You can hit me. You can. Before he could finish his brave speech, my fist buried itself so deep into his stomach that I felt his spine through the layers of flesh and muscle. The impact made a sound like a mallet hitting a side of beef. Tommy doubled over violently, dry heaving, his eyes bulging, all the air driven from his lungs in a single explosive whoosh. I grabbed him by the hair, a handful of expensively styled locks, and yanked his head back so he was looking at me. My voice was bored, almost conversational. You asked me to take it out on you. I'm just following orders. Better make sure you can take a hit, right? Otherwise, why offer? With that, I drove my knee squarely into his back. Crack. The sickening sound of snapping bone echoed through the room like a gunshot. Tommy collapsed to his knees, his face entirely distorted with pain, mouth open in a silent scream, eyes squeezed shut, tears and snot streaming down his cheeks. He was in so much agony that his vocal cords literally couldn't produce sound. His body shook with dry, heaving sobs that made no noise. Max, what are you doing? Victoria shrieked in horror, rushing forward to grab my arm. I shook her off like a fly. Tessa forced down her own fear. Her whole body was trembling, but she scrambled over to check on Tommy, her hands hovering over him uselessly. Tommy, can you hear me? Say something. Lionel's face darkened, his jaw tight. He stared at me with terrifying intensity, the kind of look a general gives an enemy who has just outmaneuvered him. That is enough, Max, regardless of how you feel, regardless of what has passed between us. He is still your brother in name. Do not cross the line. I will not warn you again. I casually grabbed a tissue from the box on the side table, wiped my knuckles clean, and tossed it onto Tommy's trembling head. It landed on his hair like a white flag of surrender. Oh, I crossed a line. My apologies. I thought the line was don't kill anyone. You didn't specify that breaking bones was off limits. How about you finish the job for me, old man? While you're at it, make sure Tessa finds the door. I'm tired of looking at her face. I am speaking to you, Max. Lionel's eyes narrowed dangerously, his voice dropping to a low growl. He despised people taking that tone with him, especially his own son, especially in front of his family. It seems that living on the streets all these years has made you forget your place. You think because you have money, because you have this house, that you are above us. Above your own blood. Fine. You're young. You're arrogant. Today, I will teach you a lesson. Let you know that there is always a bigger fish. He barked an order into the air, to no one visible. Agent 1, teach the young master some manners. Make sure not to permanently cripple him. I still want him functional. The moment the words left his mouth, a shadow blurred into existence right in front of me. A completely average-looking middle-aged man. Unremarkable face. Unremarkable build. The kind of man you would pass on the street without a second glance. But his eyes were sharp, his movements economical, and his presence screamed danger. Forgive the offense, young master, he said coldly, with the mechanical politeness of a man who had delivered these words many times before. I will try to make this quick. And then he threw a punch. Whoosh. The strike was so fast it left an afterimage, a blur of motion that my enhanced senses barely tracked. In my previous life, before the system, I would have been dead before I knew what hit me. But I wasn't my previous self anymore. A split second later, the fist stopped dead in its tracks. Frozen. Immobilized. My open palm had caught it inches from my face, absorbing the impact like a brick wall. Agent One's eyes widened in disbelief. His ultimate strike, the technique that had killed men, broken bones, shattered concrete, was casually caught like I was swatting a fly. Lionel's jaw dropped. His composure, carefully maintained for decades, crumbled in an instant. After a moment of shock, Agent One's voice turned grim, professional. It seems the young master is a martial artist as well. I was not informed of this. It changes things. I smirked coldly, tightening my grip on his fist until I heard the bones creak. I knew there was a dog hiding in the shadows. I could smell you the moment you walked in. But you're wrong about one thing. I don't practice martial arts. I leaned in close, my voice dropping to a whisper. I practice the art of killing. A sonic boom shattered the air, the sound of my leg moving faster than sound. Every hair on Agent One's body stood on end. His decades of martial instincts screamed death, screamed run, screamed you are outmatched. But before he could even attempt to retreat, my leg whipped through the air and buried itself into his abdomen with the force of a cannonball. Boom. Agent One flew backward like an artillery shell, his body folding around the point of impact. He crashed through the bathroom door, splintering it into kindling, and slammed violently into the far wall. The concrete cracked, webbing outward from the impact point like a spiderweb. His body was left embedded deep within the plaster, arms and legs dangling, completely unconscious. Lionel shot to his feet, staring at me in absolute mind-numbing horror. Agent One was the strongest guard in the Vance family. A martial arts master who had trained in hidden temples, who had fought in underground tournaments, who could casually wipe the floor with dozens of armed men without breaking a sweat. And yet against Max, against his own biological son, he couldn't survive a single strike. One hit, one kick, and the family's ultimate weapon was reduced to wall decoration. Just what kind of hell has my son walked through all these years? Lionel thought, his mind racing. What did he become while we weren't looking? While Lionel was questioning his entire reality, reevaluating every decision he had made over the past 2 decades, the front doors of the villa were blasted open. Not opened. Blasted. The heavy oak doors flew off their hinges and crashed to the floor, sending up a cloud of dust and splinters. A squad of men in black suits swarmed in, tactical earpieces gleaming, hands resting on the weapons concealed beneath their jackets. Their movements were synchronized, professional, the kind of choreography that came from years of training and field experience. Leading them was a woman with skin like white jade, her features elegant and striking. Her curves were hidden beneath a sharp black blazer, but her every movement radiated power and absolute authority. She walked like she owned the room, because in many rooms, she did. It was the eldest daughter of the Sterling family, the family that had adopted my past self. Maya Sterling. Max. Maya bypassed everyone. The guards, the Vances, the unconscious Agent One embedded in the wall, and ran straight to me, her eyes red, her voice choked with emotion. I finally found you. Do you have any idea how worried I've been? Are you okay? Are you hurt anywhere? She frantically checked me from head to toe, her hands patting down my arms, my chest, my face. You little brat. Running away for years without saying a word to me. How could you be so cruel? I thought you were dead. I thought something had happened to you. I thought. Despite the fact that I was only adopted, despite the fact that the Sterlings had found their biological son years ago, and I had stepped aside, Maya loved me to death. The kind of fierce, protective, slightly possessive love that only an older sister could feel. Mr. and Mrs. Sterling used to joke that if Max ever wanted to get married, the bride would have to survive Maya's approval first. And Maya's approval was not easily won. Maya clung to my arm, her gaze so fiercely gentle that it actually made me slightly uncomfortable. She was staring at me like I was the most precious thing in the world, like she was afraid I would disappear if she blinked. Memories surged up, unbidden. All the warmth and kindness the Sterling family had given the old Max, the birthday parties, the holiday dinners, the late-night conversations. The way Laura Sterling had held him when he was sick, the way Marcus Sterling had taught him to fish, the way Maya had defended him from bullies at school. It was the reason he kept the last name Sterling, even after he left. It was the reason he had never gone back to the Vance family, even when he knew they were looking for him. If the Sterlings hadn't found their biological son, if Mason hadn't shown up one day with a DNA test and a lawyer, the old Max probably would have stayed with them forever. He never would have become the Dragon King. He never would have built an empire. He would have been content to be Max Sterling, adopted son of a wealthy family, living a comfortable life without ever reaching for greatness. Funny how fate worked sometimes. Tell me right now, Max. Maya's voice hardened as she turned to glare at the Vance family, her eyes suddenly turning murderous. The warmth she had shown me vanished like a switch had been flipped, replaced by the cold, calculating gaze of a woman who had clawed her way to the top of the corporate world. Did these people hurt you? Did they lay a hand on you? Because if they did, I swear to God, I will burn their company to the ground. I will ruin them. I will make them regret the day they were born. The bodyguards behind her, however, were staring wide-eyed at the wall, specifically at the human-shaped dent in the bathroom wall, where Agent 1 was still embedded, still unconscious, still bleeding from a dozen small cuts. They recognized him. Everyone in the capital's underworld recognized Agent 1. He was the Vance family's ultimate weapon, a living legend in martial arts circles. They knew exactly how terrifying he was, had heard the stories, seen the aftermath of his work. And right now, he was currently acting as modern wall art. Good Lord, the bodyguards thought in unison, exchanging nervous glances. It's been 10 years, and our young master has turned into an absolute monster. And the young miss is worried he got hurt. He's the one doing the hurting. I gently pulled my arm out of Maya's grip and gave an awkward smile, trying to defuse the tension. Sis, break time equals 400 ms / Mr. Sterling. Mr. Sterling? Maya exploded before I could finish, her voice rising to a dangerous pitch. Do you want to die? Call me that one more time and see what happens. I am not Mr. Sterling. I am your sister, your only sister, and you will address me as such, or so help me. Holy crap. I felt like a demonic aura had just materialized behind her, dark and swirling and radiating murderous intent. Was female rage always this terrifying? In my previous life, I had faced down armed enemies, survived assassination attempts, stared into the eyes of men who wanted to kill me. But none of that compared to the pure, concentrated fury of an older sister who had been called Mr. Sterling. For the sake of my own safety, and the continued structural integrity of the villa, I stiffly corrected myself. Sis. Maya's expression did a complete 180. The demonic aura vanished. The murderous glare softened. A radiant, breathtaking smile bloomed on her face like the sun breaking through storm clouds. She had waited 10 years for this day. 10 years of searching, of hoping, of praying. Finally reuniting with the little brother she loved the most. Without another word, she grabbed my hand, her fingers interlacing with mine. Come home with me. Right now? We're leaving. Lionel finally snapped out of his shock, his voice rough. Maya, Max just returned to the country. He should come home with me, to the Vance family. He is my son, my blood. As for the care the Sterling family provided him, I am fully prepared to compensate you. Generously. Name your price. Shut up. Maya cut him off without even looking at him, her eyes still locked on me. Her gentleness was strictly reserved for her little brother. To the rest of the world, she was an ice queen, cold, distant, untouchable. Even facing the patriarch of the Vance family, one of the most powerful men in the country, She just shot him a look of absolute disdain over her shoulder. Patriarch Vance, Max is my brother. Naturally, he is coming home to the Sterling family. The adoption papers were completely legal, signed by all parties, witnessed by lawyers. He is a Sterling in every way that matters. As for your compensation, save it for your retirement fund. Or for Tommy's medical bills. He looks like he could use them. She finally turned to face Lionel fully, her chin raised, her eyes blazing. And regarding the fact that you clearly tried to harm Max today, sending your attack dog after him, in his own home. Oh, I'll be coming to settle that tab with you later. Consider this a formal notice. The Sterling family does not forget. And we do not forgive. Maya's sheer hostility left the usually stoic Lionel at a loss for words. He was not accustomed to being spoken to this way, especially not by a woman half his age, especially not in front of his family. But he remembered the flaw in the Vance bloodline, the genetic curse that made their family different from others. The bloodline issue was paramount. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't a myth. The Vance bloodline carried a genetic marker, something that couldn't be tested by normal means, couldn't be cured, couldn't be suppressed. It made members of the family highly prone to violent loss of control, to fits of rage, to an almost supernatural combat instinct. Looking at Max's insane outburst, the casual violence, the cold calculation, the way he had dismantled Agent 1 without breaking a sweat, Lionel was suddenly certain. Max carried the curse. He was true Vance blood, and Lionel had to bring him back, for the sake of the family's future. Maya, I admit the past was my fault. I should have searched harder. I should have never stopped looking. But Max is my biological son, my only biological son, as far as I know. Is the Sterling family really going to prevent a family reunion? Is that what your parents taught you? To keep a child from his own father? Maya scoffed openly, a sharp, dismissive sound. Reunion? Is your version of a family reunion hiring martial artists to attack your son? Because that's what just happened. You brought a killer into his home and told him to teach him a lesson. That's not a reunion. That's an assassination attempt. Lionel suppressed his rage, his voice dropping dangerously low. When the Sterling family found your biological brother, Mason, Max chose to leave. He packed his bags and disappeared. He didn't want to be a burden. He didn't want to cause conflict. Why are you dragging him back now? He clearly doesn't want to acknowledge us. Doesn't that tell you what his stance is? He chose to leave the Sterlings, and he's choosing to reject the Vances. Maybe you should respect his choices. Hearing this, Maya went silent. Her grip on my hand tightened. Her jaw worked for a moment, chewing on words she didn't want to say. Because it was true. Ever since the Sterlings found their real son, Mason, the biological heir, Max had grown quiet. He never complained, never made a scene, never asked for anything. But the distance grew. The warmth cooled. The parents were heartbroken, often ignoring their real son to comfort Max, viewing them both equally, trying to pretend that nothing had changed. Maya had stayed glued to Max's side, refusing to let him feel like an outsider. But Mason wasn't exactly easy to live with. He was jealous, petty, and cruel in the way that only insecure people could be. He made snide comments. He reminded Max that he was adopted. He brought up the inheritance whenever possible. And Max, not wanting to tear the Sterling family apart, not wanting to be the cause of conflict between parents and their biological son, stubbornly left. He moved overseas, changed his contact information, made sure he couldn't be found. Seeing Maya hesitate, Lionel pressed his advantage, his voice smooth and reasonable. It seems you understand. Max belongs to the Vance family. He carries Vance blood. He will be the heir to the Vance family, taking his rightful place at the head of our empire. What can the Sterlings give him that compares to that? A payout? A corner office? Or are you going to force him to fight your real brother for the inheritance that should have been his all along? Because we both know how that will end. Mason will never accept him, and Max will never be truly welcome. Therefore, I think, enough. I cut him off, my voice cold as winter steel. Patriarch Vance, Whatever history I have with the Sterling family, whatever debts of gratitude I owe them, I guarantee you one thing. My future has absolutely nothing to do with the Vance family. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not ever. Today's meeting is over. Get out. Max. Victoria looked at me, completely devastated. Tears streamed down her cheeks unchecked. You hit them. You yelled at us. You broke a man's bones and embedded him in your wall. Can you really not forgive us? The past was our fault. All of it. We should have found you sooner. We should have looked harder. But does your own mother have to drop to her knees and beg you? Is that what it will take? Her voice cracked, and her legs gave out. She genuinely started to kneel, to prostrate herself on my marble floor in front of her husband, her daughter, her adopted son, and a squad of Sterling family bodyguards. Maya moved faster than I could react. She stepped forward, grabbed Victoria's arm, and lifted her back up with surprising strength. Her voice was pure ice. Mrs. Vance, are you trying to guilt-trip Max? Are you trying to brand him as an unfilial son to the rest of the world? Because that's what it looks like. Look at me. I'm the poor mother kneeling before her cruel son. Drop the fake act. From start to finish, the Vance family only cares about securing a strong heir, don't you? That's all this is about. You don't care about Max. You care about his bloodline. You care about the curse. She took a breath, her eyes blazing. Did you spend the last 10 years searching for him while he was with us? No. You couldn't find him. Your words. So you immediately bought a replacement. Tommy, you poured all your love, all your resources, all your attention into a stranger, and now that you want him back, he's supposed to just fall in line? Like a dog you left at the pound and suddenly want to reclaim? Maya. Tessa helped her mother up, firing back with equal venom. Are you any better? You lost your real son. Mason was taken. You thought he was dead, so you adopted Max. You found your real son, so you abandoned Max. Don't stand there and act like you have the moral high ground. You're just as guilty as we are. Maybe more. At least we didn't stop looking. At least we didn't replace him with someone else. Tessa thought this would deal a critical blow to Maya, would make her falter, would make her see her own hypocrisy. But Maya merely laughed, a cold, humorless sound. We are entirely different, Tessa. The heir to the Sterling family has always been me. Me. I am the one running the company. I am the one making the decisions. Even if my biological brother came back, even if Mason suddenly decided he wanted to be CEO, so what? Nothing changes. I will always love Max. I will always protect him. And so will my parents. I don't care about your family drama, I said, my voice cutting through the argument like a blade. I don't care who abandoned whom, who replaced whom, who has the moral high ground. I just want to eat dinner and go to sleep. It's been a long day, and I'm tired of listening to people yell in my living room. I turned to Maya. Sis, can we please go? I'll come with you. Just break time equals 400 ms / get me out of here. Maya's face softened instantly. She nodded, then turned to her bodyguards. What are you standing there for? Escort our guests out. Now. The guards immediately advanced in unison, forming a wall of black suits between the Vances and me. Maya stepped in front of me, completely blocking the Vance family from making another move, her body a shield between me and them. As the Vance family was escorted, practically dragged, toward the door, I caught Lionel's eye. He looked back at me one last time, his expression unreadable. Something passed between us, an acknowledgement, maybe, or a warning. Then he was gone, swallowed by the darkness outside. After Agent 1 was peeled out of the drywall, it took 4 men to pull him free, and tossed onto the lawn like garbage. The living room finally fell quiet. Maya turned to face me, her eyes still shining with unshed tears. She grabbed both my hands, her grip almost painfully tight. Come home with me, Max. Please. I'm not asking anymore. I'm telling you. Come home. I smiled bitterly, shaking my head. Sis, please don't make me go back. I've been gone for years. I'm an adult now. I have my own life, my own responsibilities. I'll come visit when I have time, I promise. I'll have dinner with the family. I'll sit through mom's nagging. I'll let dad give me unsolicited business advice. But moving back in? That's not. Before I could finish my carefully crafted argument, Maya's soft hand slapped over my mouth, cutting me off mid-sentence. You've got some nerve talking back to me. Adult? In my eyes, you're always my little brat. The same little boy who used to cry when I left for college. The same little boy who used to sneak into my room during thunderstorms. Don't think just because you're stronger now, just because you can punch people through walls, I can't handle you. You either walk out of here with me willingly, or I will bury you in the wall next to that guard. Your choice. I gently pulled her hand down, a genuine warmth blooming in my chest despite myself. Carrying the memories of my past self, I knew exactly how deep the Sterling family's love for me ran. It wasn't conditional. It wasn't transactional. It was the kind of love that asked for nothing in return. But the Sterlings weren't the Vances. I had zero problem crippling Tommy Vance. The man had asked for it, practically begged for it. But I couldn't touch Mason Sterling. The Sterlings owed me nothing. They had given me everything. A home, a name, a family. And I had repaid them by disappearing for 10 years. After using force twice today, first with Kyle and Lily, then with Tommy and Agent 1, I knew my personality was shifting. Maybe it was the transmigration. Maybe it was the system. Maybe it was the sheer suppressed rage of my past self's tragic life, finally boiling over. But my temper was getting increasingly violent. My first instinct when something annoyed me was no longer to talk it out or walk away. It was to destroy it. If I went back to the Sterling house and Mason picked a fight, which he would, because he always picked fights, I couldn't guarantee I wouldn't accidentally kill him. And that would break the Sterlings' hearts. That would undo everything they had done for me. Maya clearly sensed my hesitation, the way my eyes flickered, the way my shoulders tensed. She grabbed both my hands again, her voice softening, almost pleading. Max, be good. Come home with me. Please. I'm not like Tessa. I'm not going to make you fight Mason for scraps of affection. If Mason dares to cross the line with you, if he says one wrong word, I will personally deal with him. I'll send him to his room like the child he is. Don't cause trouble, okay? Just break time equals 400 ms / come home. I sighed, shaking my head. If you step in, how does that make you any different from Tessa? You're just doing the same thing, choosing sides, playing favorites, turning the family into a battleground. I don't care. Stop making excuses and come with me. Maya put her hands on her hips, trying to look intimidating. Furrowed brow, narrowed eyes, pursed lips, but just coming off extremely cute. Like a kitten pretending to be a lion. Knowing I wasn't getting out of this, and honestly, not wanting to fight anymore, I reluctantly nodded. Besides, I owed Mr. and Mrs. Sterling a debt of gratitude for raising the old me. The least I could do was visit them, have a meal, pretend to be a good son for a few hours. But staying there long term? Absolutely not. I had a Dragon King palace to run, a gala to attend, a rival system user to investigate, and possibly a dragon god to kill. I didn't have time for family dinners. As we walked out of the villa, past the unconscious Agent 1, past the weeping Tommy, past the shell-shocked Victoria, Maya even found time to tease me. Look at my little Max, all grown up. You actually bought Villa number 1. The property that everyone wanted and no one could get. Next time you take me for a drive. And there will be a next time. Be good and just move back home with the deed, okay? Consider it rent. I didn't care about the villa. If Maya wanted it, I'd give it to her. Sign it over, no questions asked. But my condition, non-negotiable, was never moving back into the Sterling Manor. I needed my space, my independence, my ability to punch people through walls without traumatizing my adoptive parents. Once in the car, a sleek black Maybach with tinted windows and leather seats that cost more than a college education, Maya slammed the door and immediately locked her arms around mine, holding on tight like she was afraid I'd jump out the window at the next red light. I sighed in defeat. I already said I'm coming with you. You don't have to restrain me like a prisoner. No. Shut up. Maya glared at me, her eyes shining fiercely, her lower lip trembling slightly. 10 years. Do you have any idea how I survived the last 10 years without you? When you were around, whenever I was stressed, whenever the company was falling apart, whenever Dad was being impossible, whenever life was too much, just hugging you fixed everything. You were my anchor, Max. And when you disappeared, I almost lost my mind. I became so cold, so distant, so mean. Everyone started calling me the iceberg CEO. Do you know what that does to a person? To be called an iceberg? I didn't answer. I just let her hold me. As the convoy pulled away from the villa and headed toward the Sterling estate, I stared out the window at the neon-lit streets of the capital. The city was beautiful at night, all glittering lights and towering skyscrapers, a monument to human ambition and greed. Somewhere out there, Simon Frost, Mr. M, was probably lying in his dingy apartment, plotting his next move. Somewhere out there, the Dragon God was making his way back to the country, sharpening his knives. Somewhere out there, a dozen other system users and chosen ones and reincarnated heroes were going about their days, unaware that a new player had entered the game. I smiled. It was going to be fun taking them all down. Suddenly, I spotted a familiar figure walking down the sidewalk, alone and distracted, her high heels clicking against the pavement. Lily Yates. She wasn't with Kyle. She was alone, her head bowed, her shoulders slumped. She looked smaller than she had in the mansion, diminished somehow, like the confidence had been drained out of her. I raised an eyebrow. She didn't go to the hospital? After everything that happened, after the slap, after the footstool, after watching me torture the man she loved, she was just break time equals for 100 ms / walking home? Her physical stats must be off the charts. Or maybe she was in shock. Maybe her brain had shut down and her body was running on autopilot. What are you looking at? Sensing my distraction, Maya forcibly turned my face back to her with both hands, a dangerous glint in her eyes. When we get home, you're going to explain everything to me. Every single thing. Why have you been acting like a mega simp for the last few years? Why did you waste your time on multiple women? Am I not good enough for you? Did I not love you enough? How dare you simp for those cheap trashes when you had me, waiting for you at home? Seeing the look in Maya's eyes, the intensity, the possessiveness, the barely contained jealousy, 2 words flashed in my brain: jealousy. Extreme, unhinged jealousy. I gently pushed her back, my voice low. You're my sister, Maya. That's break time equals for 100 ms / that's weird. You're supposed to be happy I'm back, not interrogating me about my love life. Oh, now I'm your sister? Maya fired back instantly, not missing a beat. Back in the house, you were calling me Mr. Sterling. Make up your mind. Am I your sister, or am I a stranger you just met? I was utterly speechless. There was no winning this argument. There was no logical counter-argument that would satisfy whatever emotional need was driving this line of questioning. So I did the only thing I could do. I shut my mouth and stared out the window. Maya was gearing up for round 2 of her interrogation. I could see her taking a deep breath, preparing a fresh salvo of accusations, when the car suddenly slammed on the brakes. The tires screeched, the chassis lurched, and the seatbelt cut into my chest. Purely on reflex, I pulled Maya into my chest, shielding her from the impact, my arms wrapping around her protectively. Her face turned beet red. I could feel the heat radiating off her cheeks, but she quickly recovered, sitting up and barking at the driver with the fury of a woman who had been interrupted. What is going on? Why did we stop? Explain yourself. Boss, the driver said, his voice tight with tension. Someone is blocking the road. Multiple vehicles. They appeared out of nowhere. I didn't see them until we were almost on top of them. Maya's eyes narrowed. In the capital, anyone who dared to block the Sterling family convoy was either suicidal or had a very good reason. Either way, it wasn't good news. She looked out the window. Several black SUVs had formed a barricade across the road, headlights off, engines idling. A group of men in black suits poured out of the vehicles, not the haphazard, untrained mob of typical street thugs, but a coordinated, disciplined formation. Every single one of them radiated the chilling aura of seasoned killers. Their eyes scanned the surroundings. Their hands rested on weapons. They moved like a unit, like gears in a machine. "Max, stay in the car." Maya's hand went to her own weapon, a compact pistol hidden in her purse. "I'll handle this. Don't get out, no matter what you hear." I sighed. "They're my people, Maya. Let me talk to them." "Your people?" Maya looked stunned, her hand freezing on the purse. She had no idea her brother had built up this kind of muscle over the years. The Sterling family had their own security, of course, good security, expensive security, but nothing like this. These weren't bodyguards. These were soldiers. Why hadn't she heard any rumors in the capital? How had Max hidden an entire private army? As I stepped out of the car, Maya grabbing my arm, trying to pull me back, Drake and Kira immediately stepped forward, ready to bow. I stopped them with a sharp glare and a minute shake of my head. "Not here. Not in front of witnesses." "Mr. Sterling," Kira said, quick on the uptake, correcting herself immediately. "We apologize for the disruption. We only wish to ensure your safety." I nodded in approval. "I'm heading to the Sterling estate. There's no immediate danger, so you don't need to tail me. Find me at the gala in 3 days. We'll discuss the guest list and our strategy then. Also, over the next few days, I want you to scour the capital. Look for any unusual occurrences, anyone who doesn't fit the pattern of normal life." I ticked off the list on my fingers. A legendary doctor coming down from the mountains. A delivery boy suddenly swearing bloody vengeance on a powerful family. A vegetative patient miraculously waking up after years in a coma. Some guy who throws money around like it's water, with no visible source of income. Or the last surviving heir of an annihilated clan, appearing out of nowhere to reclaim their birthright. Investigate all of them thoroughly. If you find anyone who matches these descriptions, report to me immediately. Drake looked completely baffled, his weathered face creased with confusion. That net was way too wide. It was basically investigating the entire city, every hospital, every delivery service, every anonymous philanthropist. And what was the point of looking for these specific tropes? They sounded like characters from a bad web novel, not real people. But Drake had learned, over years of service, not to question the Dragon King's orders. "Is there a problem?" I raised an eyebrow. "No, Mr. Sterling. We will investigate immediately. Full surveillance of all hospitals, streaming platforms, and known clan lineages. You will have a preliminary report within 48 hours. Drake snapped out of it, bowed, and quickly led his team back to the SUVs. The vehicles rumbled to life and disappeared into the night, leaving only the Maybach and its occupants. Back in the car, Maya stared at me like she was trying to x-ray my soul, to see past my skin and into whatever darkness lurked beneath. "Who were those people, Max? And don't give me some vague answer about friends from overseas. I want the truth. The whole truth. No more secrets." I had an excuse locked and loaded, smooth and practiced. Friends I made overseas. Business associates. People who owe me favors. Nothing you need to worry about. Maya snorted softly, her eyes still scanning me, still suspicious. But she let it go for now. The convoy smoothly pulled through the gates of the Sterling Manor, a sprawling estate on the outskirts of the capital, surrounded by ancient oaks and manicured lawns. The staff lined up on both sides to welcome us, forming a corridor of bowed heads and respectful nods. Benson, the head butler, a silver-haired man in his 60s who had served the Sterling family for 4 decades, stepped forward, his eyes shining with joy and unshed tears. "Young Master Max," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You've returned. We had given up hope, after so many years. But here you are. In my past life, or rather, in my predecessor's memories, because my adoptive parents were always busy with the company, Benson was the one who practically raised me. He taught me to tie my shoes, to ride a bike, to shave. He was there for every scraped knee and every broken heart. He was more of a father figure than Marcus Sterling, who was always too busy with business to pay attention. "It's so good to have you back, young master." Benson's eyes grew red, his composure cracking. "The master and madam have been waiting for you. Waiting for years. They never gave up hope. Please, come inside. Dinner is ready." Maya locked her arm around mine again, refusing to let go even when I tried to gently extract myself. Walking into the familiar manor, a wave of nostalgia hit me so hard I almost staggered. Every corner of the house held a memory. The stairway where I had fallen and broken my arm. The kitchen where I had learned to bake cookies. The living room where I had opened my first Christmas presents. I could feel the immense, genuine love the Sterlings had poured into my past self, soaking into the walls like sunlight. As soon as we entered the living room, a highly elegant woman stood up from the sofa. Her facial features were very similar to Maya's. The same high cheekbones, the same sharp eyes, the same aristocratic bearing. Laura Sterling, the matriarch, my adoptive mother. "You little brat." Laura rushed over, tears welling up in her eyes, her hands reaching out to cup my face. "You finally came home. Do you have any idea how long your father and I have waited? Do you have any idea how many nights I lay awake, wondering if you were safe, if you were alive?" She reached up, gently touching my cheek, tracing the line of my jaw. "So many years. You definitely haven't been eating right. You're so thin, so pale. What have they been feeding you overseas?" "Sawdust." "Mom." I had been planning to address her formally as Mrs. Sterling, to keep some distance, to maintain the boundaries I had carefully constructed, but seeing the tears in her eyes, hearing the tremor in her voice, I couldn't do it. That single word, "Mom," slipped out before I could stop it. Laura trembled, her whole body shaking. A sob escaped her throat. "My good boy. My good boy. It's so good to have you home." Sitting on the sofa was a middle-aged man, Marcus Sterling, the head of the family. He looked calm, his expression carefully neutral, his posture relaxed, but the slight twitch in his jaw and the trembling of his hands gave him away. Being a man of his generation, a product of a time when men didn't show emotion, he hid his feelings well. But I could see the relief in his eyes, the barely contained joy. "You're back," he said simply, as if I had just returned from a business trip rather than a decade-long disappearance. I nodded, sinking into the luxurious sofa across from him. Laura and Maya immediately sat on either side of me, pinning my arms like they were afraid I'd vanish into thin air if they let go. The warmth of their bodies pressed against mine was almost overwhelming. "Gone for all these years, and you never even visited." Marcus spoke up again, his tone turning strict, almost accusatory. "Not a single phone call. Not a single letter. Not even a postcard. Running around out there like a wild animal, doing God knows what with God knows who. Do you even care about this family? Do you even think about us?" "Marcus," Laura snapped, terrified that his harsh words would drive me away again. Her grip on my arm tightened painfully. "Mom, it's fine." I smiled, shaking my head. I could feel the underlying care in his scolding, the worry disguised as anger, the love disguised as criticism. I wasn't going to take offense. "Not tonight. Good that you know." Marcus's voice softened almost imperceptibly, his shoulders relaxing. "Since you're back, take some time to rest, a few days, maybe a week. Then come to the company and help me out. I could use a fresh pair of eyes. The board is getting stale, and the younger generation, break time equals for 100 ms, / well, you're the younger generation." No, no, no." Maya immediately protested, her voice rising. "He just got back and you're already putting him to work? Let him breathe, Dad. Let him adjust. He's been gone for 10 years. He needs time to remember what home feels like before you shove a spreadsheet in his face." She turned to me, whispering frantically, "Max, don't overthink it. You don't have to work at the company if you don't want to. I don't care if you never work a day in your life. I just want you to rest, to heal, to be happy. I know. I patted her hand, smiling gently. You don't need to explain. I know exactly who you are. I know exactly what you mean. Maybe my voice was too gentle, too warm, too intimate, because Maya's face instantly flushed red from her neck to her hairline. Laura watched the interaction, a very knowing, cryptic smile appearing on her face. The kind of smile that said, I see what's happening here, and I approve. Right. Marcus said suddenly, clearing his throat. I heard the Vance family came looking for you today. Lionel Vance himself. That's not a man who makes social calls. At the mention of the Vance family, my smile faded. The warmth in my chest cooled to something harder, sharper. The Vance family poured all their resources into raising that adopted kid, Tommy, only to realize he's a useless piece of trash who cries at the first sign of conflict. Now they want their real son back. They want the blood heir. They want the genetic curse. Marcus paused, studying my face. If you want to return to them, to take back your name, your inheritance. Stop talking. Laura interrupted, glaring at her husband with the kind of ferocity that had ended arguments for 30 years. What kind of family is the Vance family anyway? I've heard the rumors. The violence. The instability. Max is my son. He's a sterling. How can we just hand him over to people who couldn't even keep him safe as a baby? It's Max's choice, Laura. Why are you interfering? Marcus frowned, his voice rising. He's an adult. He can make his own decisions. If he wants to go back to his biological family, we can't stop him. I don't care. Max is my son. Nobody is taking him. Laura refused to back down, her chin raised, her eyes blazing. Watching them bicker. These two people who had raised me, who had loved me, who had given me everything. Maya couldn't help but laugh. Mom, relax. Nobody's taking anyone anywhere. Max already rejected the Vances. He threw them out of his house. Literally. He had his guards escort them to the curb. When Maya recounted what had happened at my villa, how the Vance family had acted, how Tommy had tried to manipulate everyone, how I had effortlessly crippled Agent 1, Marcus was visibly stunned. His jaw actually dropped. Agent 1 was the Vance family's top-tier death squad leader, a man whose name was whispered in the underworld with fear and respect. And Max had just break time equals for 100 ms / crushed him? Like a bug? Unlike her husband's shock, Laura just looked heartbroken. She knew perfectly well, she had always known, that to gain that kind of monstrous strength, a person had to endure unimaginable hell. You didn't learn to punch through walls by taking yoga classes. You learned it by fighting for your life, by surviving when you should have died, by crawling through darkness that would break ordinary men. She hugged me tight, her body shaking with silent sobs. My boy, my poor, brave boy, you've suffered so much. It's all my fault for not taking better care of you, for letting you leave, for not finding you sooner, for leaving you out there alone all these years. Mom, please don't blame yourself, I said softly, awkwardly patting her back. Leaving the house was my own choice. It had nothing to do with you. I could never repay the kindness you and Dad have shown me. The love, the support, the family you gave me when I had nothing. Don't say that. Laura scolded me strictly, pulling back to look me in the eye. You are my son. Being good to you is my job. My privilege. What kindness? What repayment? Nonsense. Your family. Family doesn't keep score. Marcus crushed his cigarette in the ashtray. He had taken up smoking again, apparently, and his voice turned grim. If you don't want to acknowledge the Vance family, fine. Their loss. Moving forward, I'll cut down our business dealings with them. Every contract, every partnership, every joint venture. I'll handle the fallout. Let them try to retaliate. You are Marcus Sterling's son, and Marcus Sterling protects his own. Before he could finish his declaration, the living room doors were shoved open violently. A young man stumbled in, pale, disheveled, his expensive clothes wrinkled and stained. His footsteps were uneven, his eyes bloodshot, his breath reeking of alcohol. Classic signs of someone who spent all their time drowning in booze and women. He had some of Marcus's facial features. The same jaw, the same eyes, but his aura was arrogant and deeply unpleasant, nothing like the stoic authority of his father. It was Mason Sterling, the biological son, the one who had replaced me. Mason walked in with a sloppy grin, clearly drunk, clearly oblivious to the tension in the room. But the second his eyes landed on me, sitting on the sofa, flanked by Laura and Maya, his face darkened like a storm cloud rolling in. "Max," he slurred, his voice dripping with disdain. "Why the hell are you back? I thought you disappeared. I thought we were finally rid of you. Insolent brat." Marcus slammed his hand on the table so hard the coffee cups jumped. "Is that how you speak to your older brother? Get over here right now. You spend all day messing around with your degenerate friends, blowing the company's money faster than your sister can earn it, and leaving her to clean up your messes. Can you act like a human being for once? Can you show some respect?" Facing his father's wrath, Mason didn't even flinch. He stumbled over, completely ignoring my icy glare, and let out a drunken sneer. Well, if it isn't the young master of the Sterling family, returning from exile. What's the matter, Max? Dad's not dead yet, and you're already back to steal the inheritance? I've got news for you. I am the biological son, the real son, the one with the bloodline. A fake adopted stray like you doesn't even deserve a seat at the table, let alone a share of the company. You little bastard. Marcus leapt to his feet, his face purple with rage, ready to strike his own son. But Laura quickly held him back, her hands on his chest, her voice soothing. "Mason, what are you saying? Apologize to your father right now. And apologize to your brother. You're drunk. You don't know what you're saying. Apologize for what?" Mason laughed bitterly, spreading his arms wide. "Am I wrong? Am I lying? You two owed me for years. I was kidnapped, I was lost, I was raised by strangers, and you replaced me with a fake. You pretended Max was your son. You pretended everything was fine. Sister controls everything in the company. I'm just a figurehead, a mascot. I'm your real son. Why shouldn't I inherit the Sterling Group? Why should I have to beg for scraps while some adopted stray gets handed everything? Bankrupt us." Mason kept pushing, his voice rising. "I'm the only one who—" I stood up abruptly. My hand shot out and grabbed him by the collar, yanking him off balance. His eyes went wide, the drunken fog clearing slightly as fear cut through the alcohol. I pulled him close, our faces inches apart, and flashed a highly dangerous smile. "Compared to Tommy Vance," I said, my voice low and soft, "I actually prefer you, Mason. At least you're openly an asshole. At least you don't pretend to be a victim. At least you wear your ugliness on the outside where everyone can see it." I tightened my grip on his collar, lifting him slightly onto his toes. "But that is not an excuse to disrespect Mom and Dad. They took care of you. They loved you. They gave you everything. And this is how you repay them? By acting like a spoiled brat." I dragged him like a rag doll, his heels scraping across the floor, his hands clawing uselessly at my wrist, and slammed him hard onto the floor right in front of our parents. Thud. The impact knocked the breath out of him. He lay there, stunned, gasping. "Apologize. Now. Screw you." Mason spat, his pride overcoming his survival instinct. But then he met my eyes, really met them, for the first time, and something in his chest seized. His survival instinct screamed that if he pushed back one more time, he was going to get beaten to a pulp. There was no mercy in those eyes. No patience. No brotherly affection. Just cold, measured violence waiting for an excuse. Max had changed. 10 years ago, the old Max would have just taken the abuse in silence, would have slunk away with his tail between his legs, would have apologized for existing. But this guy, this stranger wearing Max's face, his eyes alone were terrifying. Like staring into the eyes of a predator who had already decided you were prey. Not wanting to get his teeth kicked in, and honestly, not sure if he could survive another hit. Mason turned to his parents and mumbled, "Sorry. I know I was wrong. I'm sorry." The apology smoothed things over slightly. As mentioned, the parents genuinely tried to treat both sons equally, to love them both, to give them both opportunities, to pretend that there was no difference between biological and adopted. Seeing the tension diffuse, Laura gently advised Marcus. He just got back. Let's focus on the family reunion. Tomorrow, you can go deal with the Vance family, so they stop bothering Max. Whatever the Vance family could offer, the Sterling family can match and exceed. Marcus nodded, his anger fading. Both families were capital powerhouses, but the Sterlings were much stronger, better connected, better managed, better respected. The Vances might have old money, but the Sterlings had new power. Hearing this, hearing his parents openly discuss giving me access to family resources, Mason scrambled up, indignant. The family assets are mine. Mine. He's just adopted. He has no claim to anything. And Maya is going to get married eventually. Her kids won't even be Sterlings. They'll belong to whatever family she marries into. Are you really going to split the company 3 ways? Are you really going to dilute my inheritance for a stray you picked up off the street? Bullshit. Marcus roared, his voice echoing off the walls. The Sterling group will not be divided. It will not be split. Your sister is the official heir. She has earned that position through years of hard work and sacrifice. You and Max will receive funds and resources to build your own paths, separate from the company. Stop dreaming about the chairman's seat, Mason. It will never be yours. What? No. Mason was furious, his face reddening, his fists clenching. But seeing Marcus's face turning purple with rage, seeing the veins bulging in his forehead, he shut his mouth. He wasn't stupid. He knew his father had a temper, and he knew that temper could turn violent. Better to retreat and regroup than to push too far. Fine, Mason muttered, storming toward the stairs. Mom, Dad, you handle Mason. Wait, he was Mason. I meant, you handle him. Whatever. Maya stood up and dragged me toward the stairs, her fingers interlaced with mine. Max just got back. I'm taking him upstairs to rest. Don't bother us. As we climbed the stairs, I glanced back over my shoulder. Marcus covertly pumped his fist, cheering his daughter on with a small, satisfied smile. Laura elbowed him in the ribs, but she was smiling too. Once we reached the top floor, Maya pushed open a door and pulled me inside. The room was simple: a bed, a desk, a bookshelf, posters on the wall from bands I used to like. Completely unchanged from when my past self lived here. The same comforter, the same lamp, the same crack in the window frame from when I had thrown a baseball through it as a kid. Maya pulled me down to sit on the edge of the bed, pressing right up against me, her thigh warm against mine. See? She said softly, gesturing around the room. Your room is exactly the same. Mom, Dad, and I always waited for you. Every birthday, every holiday, every ordinary Tuesday. We kept it ready, just in case. But you made us wait 10 years, max 10 years. I didn't answer. I just looked around the room, feeling a profound sense of peace settle over me. I had never felt this overseas, this sense of belonging, of safety, of being truly home. The path to becoming the Dragon King had been paved with blood and death, with betrayal and sacrifice. Family had been a foreign concept, a weakness to be exploited by enemies. But sitting here, in this room, surrounded by the ghosts of my predecessors' past, I understood something I had never understood before. Family wasn't a weakness. It was the reason to be strong. What are you thinking about? Maya grabbed my cheeks, forcing me to look her in the eye. Her hands were warm, her touch gentle despite the firmness of her grip. Our faces were inches apart. Our breaths mingled in the small space between us. Her sweet scent, something floral, something expensive, drifted into my nose. I instinctively tried to pull back, to create some distance, but she held me tight, her fingers digging into my cheeks. Where are you running? 10 years wasn't long enough for you? You think you can just walk back into my life and then walk away again? Not happening. Sis, stop messing around. I grabbed her wrists, smiling helplessly. I'm back, aren't I? That's what you wanted. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere tonight. Good, good, good. Maya sounded annoyed, repeating herself 3 times like a mantra. She let go of my face, finally, and wrapped her arms around my waist instead, pressing her body flush against mine. She stared right into my eyes, her gaze intense, almost feverish. Big boy or not, you haven't answered my question from the car. Why didn't you come home? Why did you go out there and simp for those trashy women? What could they give you that I couldn't? What did they have that I don't have? Just hearing the word simp gave me a migraine. Every time someone said it, I felt the ghost of my predecessor wince in shame. What was I supposed to say? Hey, Maya, I'm actually a transmigrator from another world. The old guy was the simp, not me. I just woke up in his body 3 days ago. She'd think I was insane. She'd have me committed. So I sighed, playing along with the narrative. I was blinded by stupidity, youthful foolishness. I didn't come back because I didn't want to burden mom and dad, and you, with my problems. As for those women, break time equals 400 ms / I must have suffered some severe brain damage. Or maybe it was a curse. I prefer to blame it on a curse. Maya was clearly unsatisfied with this explanation. Her eyes narrowed. Her grip on my waist tightened. She leaned in closer, our noses brushing, her lips almost touching mine. The atmosphere in the room spiked into highly dangerous territory, the kind of tension that preceded either a fight or something else entirely. My little brother really has grown up, she murmured, her voice low and husky. You've got some impressive skills, I'll give you that. Girlfriends popping up left and right. Even when you were supposedly simping, you still had options. Answer me honestly, Max. Am I worse than them? Am I less beautiful? Less successful? Less worthy of your attention? I answered purely on reflex, without thinking. Of course not. You're leagues above them. You're smarter, more beautiful, more successful. You're everything they wish they could be. Then why didn't you simp for me? Maya's voice dropped to a pout, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. Why did you give all that devotion, all that attention, all that love to strangers, to women who didn't deserve it, when I was right here? When I would have given you anything? When I would have? Something in my brain short-circuited. I don't know why. Maybe it was the tears. Maybe it was the vulnerability. Maybe it was the 10 years of longing I could see written on her face. But I leaned forward and lightly brushed my lips against hers. Just a whisper of contact, barely there, almost accidental. We both froze. My brain caught up with my actions and screamed at me. What are you doing? That's your sister. Adopted or not, that's still. I was about to apologize, to pull back, to explain that it was a mistake, but I saw Maya's face turn completely crimson, her cheeks, her neck, even the tips of her ears burning red. Her voice trembled when she spoke. What? Break time equals 400 ms / what does that mean? Why did you do that? I rubbed the back of my neck awkwardly, searching for words that didn't exist. Didn't you just ask why I didn't simp for you? So break time equals 400 ms / I simped. A little. That was simping. Maybe. Maya glared at me, but there was zero anger in it. It was 100% flirtatious, a playful, teasing, I'm going to eat you alive kind of glare. She stood up from the bed, towering over me for a moment, and then suddenly lunged forward. The impact caused our lips to crash together, not gently, not tentatively, but with the force of 10 years of suppressed longing. It wasn't a kiss. It felt more like a bite, like she was trying to claim me, to brand me, to leave a mark that would never fade. I was stunned for a second, completely frozen, my brain refusing to process what was happening, and then finally reacted. My arms wrapped around her, pulling her closer, and I kissed her back. Not hesitantly, not awkwardly, but with the same intensity she was giving me. A long moment later, it could have been seconds, could have been minutes, I had no idea, we separated. Maya was panting heavily, her chest heaving, her eyes completely glazed over. Her lipstick was smeared. Her hair was disheveled. She looked utterly wrecked, and somehow more beautiful than ever. That is my mark, she said, her voice breathless but firm. From now on, you are mine. Do you understand? Mine. If those other women, Lily, Samantha, any of them, dare to come near you again, I will kill them. I will end them. I will make their lives a living hell. And no one will stop me. With that highly threatening Yandra declaration, she bolted out of the room, running back to her own bedroom down the hall. I heard her door slam shut, followed by what sounded like a muffled squeal of excitement. I watched her go, absent-mindedly touching my lips. I could still smell her perfume, jasmine and vanilla, sweet and intoxicating. I could still feel the warmth of her body against mine. First day back, I thought, and things are already escalating like this? What's going to happen by day 7? Right then, my phone buzzed. Drake. My king, the guest list for the gala has been sent to your email. Also, the investigation you ordered. We found someone. Recently, a guy going by the username Mr. M popped up on a live streaming platform. His background is completely average. Ordinary family, ordinary education, ordinary job. But he throws money around like it's literal garbage. He tips tens of millions, sometimes billions, in a single stream. Before this, his account was level 0, no history, no activity, no connections. It's like he suddenly inherited a fortune from nowhere, or break time equals for 100 ms / something else. Understood, I said and hung up. I opened the streaming app and searched for Mr. M. Because of his sudden explosion in wealth, the mysterious billionaire who appeared out of nowhere, the internet was going crazy trying to guess his identity. Some said he was a Dubai prince hiding his identity. Others said he was the hidden heir of a super conglomerate, finally coming into his inheritance. Conspiracy theories abounded. Whoever he tipped instantly became rich. Streamers who had been struggling to pay rent suddenly buying houses, buying cars, buying their parents' freedom from medical debt. Even the old money whales, the established billionaires who had been on the platform for years, couldn't keep up with him. He outspent them all, every time, without blinking. I smirked as I watched his tipping history scroll by. He's either so rich he's bored out of his mind, or he has a system. And in this world, with my luck, it's definitely a system. Right on cue, the mechanical voice rang in my head, pleasant and cold. Asterisk ding. Congratulations to the host. Another system user, designated Mr. M, has been detected within proximity. Crushing or subjugating this user will yield significant rewards. Option 1. Crush, subjugate, or humiliate the rival system user to steal 50% of their accumulated system rewards. Option 2. Kill the rival system user to absorb their entire system and gain a special reward, including potential system upgrades. Option 3. Recruit the rival system user as a subordinate to gain ongoing percentage-based rewards from all their future system earnings. Asterisk. Hearing this, I made a weird face. Killing the chosen one? Isn't that the villain's job? In most stories, the protagonist was the chosen one, the hero, the good guy, the one who saved the world. But my fate profile, according to the system, said I was destined to be the ultimate villain, the final boss, the Dark Lord that heroes rose up to defeat. If it really is a cashback tipping system, some kind of spend money, get more money deal, stealing it wouldn't be half bad. And if I recruit him instead of killing him, I get passive income forever. Either way, Simon Frost, if that's really his name, is about to have a very bad week. While I was scheming, my eyes fell on the top-ranked streamer's room, a woman named Bunny K, who had somehow climbed to the #1 spot despite having only moderate talent. She was dancing in front of the camera, her movements suggestive but not quite explicit, walking the line between sexy and scandalous. I clicked on her stream. The moment I entered, the screen exploded with digital carnival float animations, gifts raining down like confetti. Mr. M gifted Carnival X $5.99. Mr. M gifted Carnival X $600. I narrowed my eyes. Found him. The chat was going absolutely feral. The carnival count shot up to 999, 1,000, 1,100. The streamer, Bunny K, was doing a highly suggestive dance to match the shower of money, her body moving in ways that were designed to provoke exactly this response. She was undeniably stunning. Long legs, a tiny waist, a face that could launch ships. But there was something calculated in her movements, something manufactured. Every smile was measured. Every gesture was rehearsed. "Thank you so much for the support, Mr. M," Bunny K cooed, making a heart shape with her hands over her chest. The chat went insane. I shook my head and laughed. "Chosen one, huh? Let's see how much weight you can carry. Let's see if that system of yours has any limits." Mr. M had his eyes on this bunny girl, apparently. Looked like my dream harem list. Not that I had one, just lost a candidate. Then again, getting this bunny girl to be his private entertainer probably wouldn't be cheap. She seemed like the type who charged by the hour and doubled her rates on weekends. I scrolled through the chat, a smirk playing on my lips. Oh yeah, look at this guy. Dropping $3 million the second he walks in. He definitely has a tipping system, probably a cashback system or a wealth multiplication system. Either way, he's not spending his own money. He's spending the system's money. I did some quick mental math. If it was just a regular tipping system, one that gave him infinite money but no other benefits, I didn't really care. Infinite money was impressive, but money alone couldn't protect you from a knife in the dark. But if it was a cashback system or a god-tier wealth system, one that rewarded him for spending and compounded his returns, I absolutely had to steal it. Those kinds of systems snowballed out of control. Give them enough time, and they could buy entire countries. While I was thinking, Mr. M typed a message in the global chat. "Streamer, great dance. I really like it. You're very talented." Bunny K's eyes crinkled into crescents, her smile wide and practiced. "Thank you for the recognition, Mr. M. Love you. Love you. You're my favorite person in the whole world right now." She knew she wasn't top-tier famous yet. There were bigger streamers, more established streamers with better connections. But with her looks and her body, bagging a whale, a big spender, a sugar daddy, a patron, was only a matter of time. And Mr. M was the hottest topic on the internet right now. The mysterious billionaire who appeared from nowhere. The man who made it rain. She had played hard to get with other whales before, ignoring them, rejecting them, making them work for her attention, waiting for the perfect catch. This was it. Her golden ticket. Apparently, the words "love you" acted like a stimulant on Mr. M. More carnivals flooded the screen, the gift animations overlapping so fast they blurred together. "This is what you deserve," Mr. M typed. "Today, the #1 spot on this leaderboard is mine. No one is taking it from me." The chat erupted. Everyone was worshipping Mr. M's dominant alpha energy, his willingness to spend, his casual disregard for money, his obvious wealth. Currently, the overall #1 whale in Bunny K's room, the person who had spent the most on her over time, had dropped about $6 million over the course of several months. To take the top spot, Mr. M needed to drop another $3 million right now. Pocket change, apparently. Mr. M gifted Carnival X 500. M gifted Carnival X 600. M gifted Carnival X 700. And then, suddenly, a new name appeared in the chat. Lone Wolf gifted Carnival X 100. The gift animations kept overriding each other, stacking on top of each other in a cascade of digital confetti. The chat noticed something weird. Who the hell is Lone Wolf? Why is a brand new level 0 account dropping carnivals? Is this a new trend for billionaires? Smuffing? Why is he doing it now? Is he trying to fight Mr. M for the #1 spot? This is insane. Lone Wolf was, of course, me. I wanted to test the limits of Mr. M's wallet, to see how deep his pockets really went, to see if there was a daily limit or a spending cap. With the $50 billion the system had just given me, not to mention the trillions I already had access to as the Dragon King, I felt absolutely zero pressure throwing some pocket change around. This was entertainment. This was research. This was fun. I just held down the gift carnival button. My fingers moved so fast they left afterimages. Decades of gaming experience finally paying off. In seconds, I caught up to Mr. M. Mr. M gifted Carnival X 800. Lone Wolf gifted Carnival X 742. The chat was losing its collective mind. Holy crap, look at that clicking speed. Bro must have been single for 20 years. He caught up so fast. Is he using a bot? Lone Wolf is a god. So billionaires really do make burner accounts just to slap other people in the face, huh? Note to self. Never insult a level 0 account. You never know who's on the other side. In the midst of the scrolling madness, Mr. M suddenly stopped tipping. His carnival count froze at 999, just shy of the 1,000 mark. Meanwhile, my Lone Wolf account kept going like a runaway freight train, unstoppable, inevitable. I stopped exactly at 3,000 carnivals. A cool $9 million, less than a rounding error in my net worth, completely obliterating the #1 spot on the leaderboard. Bunny K was beaming so hard her face probably hurt. Thank you, Mr. M. Thank you, Lone Wolf. I can't believe this. I can't believe both of you. This is the greatest day of my life. She had waited for this day her entire career. The day when 2 mega whales fought over her, competing for her attention, driving her to the top of the charts. Absolute perfection. Mr. M slowly typed a message in the global chat, his words measured, controlled. It seems this streamer already has a guardian. Very well. I will concede for now. But this isn't over. The chat exploded again. Mr. M backed down? Lone Wolf is even more hardcore than Mr. M. Mr. M has literally never lost a tipping war before. This is unprecedented. Billionaire warfare is too exciting for words. Meanwhile, in a dingy rented apartment across the city, Simon Frost, the man behind Mr. M, stared at his phone, his face dark with rage. His knuckles were white around the device. His jaw was clenched so tight his teeth ached. Who the hell is this Lone Wolf? He thought furiously. Is it one of my old rivals using an alt account? Or is it a new player? Someone else with a system? Damn it. Bunny K is thanking me, but her affection meter isn't going up at all. It's stuck. It's frozen. It's actually dropping because she's more focused on Lone Wolf now. Simon was limited. He could only drop 999 gifts twice a day, a hard cap imposed by his system until he completed certain objectives. If he couldn't increase his daily limit, how was he supposed to fight this Lone Wolf guy? How was he supposed to compete with someone who could drop $9 million like pocket change? Simon used to be an average corporate drone, a mid-level accountant at a mid-sized firm, living a mid-level life. He got framed by his boss for embezzlement, a crime he didn't commit, fired in disgrace, and sent home to his tiny apartment with nothing but debt and despair. The very next day, he awakened the God-tier cashback system. Every dollar he spent on live streams, on gifts, on donations, on subscriptions, returned 10% to his bank account instantly. The more he spent, the more he earned. The money he had been throwing around for the past few weeks, the millions that had made him famous, was the system starter pack. A generous gift from the universe to get him started. But now the starter funds were gone. To keep tipping at the same level, he needed to bind with a goddess, a 10-tenths beauty who had high affection for him. Once bound, he could spend unlimited funds on them, and the cashback percentage would increase. But until then, he was stuck with the 999 gift limit per day. Normally, throwing $3 million at a streamer practically guaranteed high affection. Money talked. Money sang. Money made people love you, or at least pretend to love you. He checked the system. Bunny K's affection had been skyrocketing. 85, 90, 95%. Right as it was about to hit the threshold for binding, this Lone Wolf idiot jumped in and completely derailed the progress. No, Simon thought, I need to secure this woman. She's my last chance. If I don't bind someone soon, the system will reset and I'll lose everything. After a moment of thought, he typed into the global chat, his message carefully crafted to project confidence while revealing nothing. Hey, bro, if you're seriously backing this streamer, I won't fight you for her. She can be yours. But if you're just here to troll me, if you're just trying to embarrass me, then 2 days from now, during the platform event, we go head to head. Winner takes all. No limits. No excuses. The chat went nuclear. Mr. M just challenged Lone Wolf to a duel. The upcoming event is going to be insane. 2 billionaires fighting for supremacy. Who will win? Who will blink first? Bunny K was trembling with excitement, her hands shaking as she read the messages scrolling by. Was she about to be the prize in a billionaire clash? The trophy awarded to the victor? Her years of playing the long game, of waiting for the perfect whale, had finally paid off in the most spectacular way possible. But I didn't care about Simon Frost. I had bigger fish to fry, a gala to attend, a dragon god to prepare for, a system to upgrade. Seeing me ignore him, seeing my name stay silent in the chat, Simon furiously typed again. Lone Wolf bro, what do you mean? Are we fighting or not? Say something. Don't just sit there. Silence. He was about to type a third message when my message popped up on the screen. Lone Wolf, streamer, your body is incredible. Keep dancing. I'll be watching. Simon froze. Then he almost smashed his phone in a fit of rage. Son of a bitch. It's not that he didn't see my message. He's actively ignoring me. He's treating me like I don't exist. Just a few days ago, Simon was a total loser, a broke accountant with no future, no prospects, no hope. Now he was hailed as a god on the internet, invited to elite business galas, courted by beautiful women who would have laughed at him a month ago. His ego had inflated to the size of a blimp, fragile and easily punctured. To have someone openly treat him like air, like he wasn't worth acknowledging, was driving him insane. Bunny K, caught in the middle of a billionaire turf war, didn't know what to say. She knew her place, the streamer's place, and she knew better than to intervene. The smart move was to stay quiet, look pretty, and let the money flow. The reason I ignored him? It was simple. Who in their right mind would agree to a PvP battle against a guy using a system wallet? He was spending infinite generated money. Money that appeared from nowhere, money that cost him nothing, while I was dropping $9 million just to test his limits. Going head-to-head with him in an unlimited spending war was brain dead. It was like trying to empty the ocean with a bucket. Plus, the fact that he scheduled the fight for the event day, 2 days from now, proved he needed time to prep his system. He needed to upgrade something, unlock something, or find a way around his limits. That gave me time to investigate him, to find his weaknesses, to figure out exactly what kind of system he had. In his dingy apartment, Simon was practically vibrating with rage. He was in a WeChat group with the capital's top second-generation rich kids, the heirs and heiresses of the city's most powerful families. Because of this tipping war, because of his public humiliation, the group chat was blowing up with messages. He gritted his teeth and sent a message into the group. Who is this Lone Wolf guy? Did anyone find his IP? His real name? Anything. Nothing. The profile is totally blank. No history. No followers. No following. Just a level 0 account that appeared out of nowhere. Terrifying. My brother is in cyber intelligence for the government, and even he couldn't trace it. The account is encrypted beyond military grade. It's like it doesn't exist. Could it be another hidden billionaire like Mr. M? Someone who's been hiding their wealth for years, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves? Man, the capital has been crazy lately. Where are all these mysterious tycoons coming from? First Mr. M, now Lone Wolf. Who's next? A reincarnated emperor? Reading the group chat, Simon slowly calmed down, forcing himself to breathe. He knew the truth about himself, the truth that no one else knew. He was just a regular guy, an ordinary accountant, who got lucky with the system. The only reason these elite rich kids hung out with him, invited him to their parties, treated him as an equal, was because they couldn't trace his background. They assumed he was old money, a hidden heir from a family so secretive that even their names were classified. He knew, deep down, that if he really was a billionaire, if he really had generational wealth, He wouldn't spend all day watching streamers and tipping pretty girls. He would be doing something more productive, something more meaningful. But the system demanded he spend money to make money, and the easiest way to spend money was on live streams. Therefore, he didn't dare talk too much trash to Lone Wolf. What if he accidentally pissed off a real, unhinged psychopath? Someone with actual resources, actual connections, actual power. He wouldn't survive the fallout. His system couldn't protect him from a bullet. On my end, I swiped past the dozens of friend requests from random streamers and chat spectators. They were all the same, desperate, hungry, looking for a sugar daddy. One message stood out, though. Bunny K had sent me a private message. Lone Wolf Appa, this is my personal WeChat. Add me. I really want to get to know you better. Thank you for the gifts. Love you. Love you. You're so generous. Looking at the message, I let out a cold laugh. Bunny K was exactly my type physically. Long legs, pretty face, the kind of body that made men do stupid things. But she was clearly a manipulative gold digger, the kind of woman who played games with men's hearts to extract maximum value. I didn't have time to play games with her. The memories of my past self's supreme simp behavior were still fresh in my mind, still stinging with shame. If I triggered some hidden simp curse from my fake profile, some buried instinct to fall for manipulative women, I'd be ruined. I shook my head and closed the app. I had already reviewed the guest list for the gala, and Simon Frost's name was on it. Other people thought his background was fake, assumed he was a rich kid playing poor, because no one with his kind of money could be a nobody. But I knew his background was 100% real. The system had confirmed it. With a cashback system, dropping a few $1 billion was nothing, just a step in a process, a requirement for unlocking greater rewards. If my guess was right, Simon's plotline was to use the tipping system to gain starting capital, to build a reputation, to make connections, to eventually dominate the business world. Classic rags to riches, zero to hero progression. I narrowed my eyes. Just as I suspected, I wasn't the only one with a system in this world. And the system rewards for dealing with these chosen ones, for crushing them, subjugating them, or killing them, were incredibly lucrative. Did I care if Simon and I had no prior grudges? Did I care if he was just an ordinary guy who got lucky? Hell no. I wasn't a good person. I had never claimed to be. The title of Dragon King wasn't earned by baking cookies for orphans. My hands were soaked in blood, the blood of rivals, of enemies, of anyone who stood in my way. Killing one Simon Frost wouldn't even make me blink. I spun my phone in my hand, a plan forming in my mind for the gala. 2 days from now, the Capital Commerce Center would be filled with the city's elite, CEOs, politicians, socialites, and one mysterious tipper with a cashback system. And I would be there, waiting. I dialed a number. It was time to set my pieces on the board.